situation with Saul. You have a choice.
All right, all right, all right. 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 Good even fall to one and all, and good even fall to every single listener out there all around the world that have been waiting patiently, eagerly to find out whether or not the warp speed is even alive. Yep, ladies and gentlemen, this is warp speed, and I do bid you do well. I hope you are well of health and sane of mind. Now, without further ado, because I know that you've been clamoring and hooting to see what we've been up to, you've been wanting to talk sports. Without further ado, of course, I would like to introduce to you my co host, my cohort in life, a dear friend of mine, and almost a brother to me. This is Dream123. Dream, how do you do?
Hello. Doing very well. Very,
Yeah.
very well. How about yourself?
Well, well, I'm here. Right. So it's I guess
¿Qué pasa, masa?
it's been a tough month, man. It really has been a very tough month for me. Um, going from, let's say, top of the world, enjoying every second of life, having one of the most memorable summers, just doing the most simplest of things with my family and friends, to almost having tragedy become even worse of a tragedy. And, there was a moment where I had to get down on my knees and pray. And I had to look up to the sky, and I had to thank the supreme beings up there for not breaking my heart, for allowing me to be without that kind of heartbreak, that kind of pain that so many people find unbearable and hard to overcome. But I survived it. That individual will go nameless. survived it, but because we all survived, I can smile, and I know that they smile themselves. So I guess it went from high to very low to very high, and we can go back to what we do best, living that life of normalcy, which in the case of you and I and the homie Ricky involves all things organized pugilism. Yes, we are talking about the sport of boxing. So I guess you can say, if you ask me right now, I am doing swell. If you asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would say I'm doing horribly. If you asked me a couple of weeks prior to that, I would tell you I'm doing absolutely incredible. But enough about me. Let me ask you, how do you do, Dream?
Doing very well. Hold
Yeah.
on, am I on mute? Okay, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you're live and direct.
All right. All right. No, I'm cooking some things right now. Um, I'm just creating, you know, if to say the least, and I just feel like we live in the some of the best times of our lives, and think we need to take full advantage of it. Um,
Mhm.
and just feel like life is too short, and I'm just happy to be here, being a boxing fan, talk to people who are interested in boxing like me and who can talk boxing like me.
Mhm.
Um, because not too many people are into this boxing stuff. They just say hit him in the hit him in the mouth, hit him in the neck. And they're just so ignorant. People are, and and honestly, sometimes I just feel like it's hard to argue boxing, but what can you do? It's just such a what's the word I'm looking for? It's such a opinionated sport. It's like, I don't know, everyone can have a different opinion on the same thing. It's just we're all saying the same thing at the end of the day. But our choice of words is really important, you know. And if anything, being a boxing fan teaches you that. It teaches you right choice of words, because some people just call certain fighters bums and all this BS. It's just ridiculous, how fast people throw away these fighters. But
Mhm.
I'm happy
Mhm.
to be a boxing fan, and honestly, bro, I've never had never been this knowledgeable of boxing, and I'm still learning, you know, certain things about boxing, and I just, you know, happy to be here, you know, and happy to be
It
here and learn the sport, in other people's eyes, So yeah, what's up,
no,
man?
you touched on exactly everything that this episode tonight will be about the appreciation of fighters instead of the discrediting of fighters, and about how we should measure our words, right? When it comes to the sport of boxing. In fact, when it comes to us expressing ourselves about others, right? We should be able to express ourselves in a mature, educated, and responsible fashion. Similarly, how you would expect others to speak to you or address you is how we should speak and address others, right? And especially when it comes to something as the sport of boxing, where people literally are putting their life and their health at the hands of themselves, the third man in the ring, and also the opponent, right? All for our entertainment. And yes, because of that fact, we are going to be addressing things such as Kid Kansas, Miss Gloria Alvarez, Alan Garcia's pupil, who got knocked out this past Saturday, and one of the most incredible, frustrating upsets of all, which ended up shedding a light on how sexist, in my opinion, this sport can be. We are going to be talking about Anthony Joshua, who, just like how you mentioned, we are quick to throw out, right, with a loss, discredit them. but we're also going to be talking about Canelo, and similarly, all of those things apply to Canelo. When we speak about, uh, being discredited, being ignored, being called a bum, right? So it's timely and very succinct that you open up this show by talking about all of those things, because this is exactly what I wanted to bring you and the homie Ricky to speak with me about. The homie Ricky, I'm not too sure if he's going to be hopping live. I'm sure that he's going to be very active and keeping the chat alive. Mr. Vince Vargas, thank you very much for being here, sir. Always a pleasure to have you here with us at the Golden Age. Well, we're going to be discussing it as if it was a golden age, Mr. Vargas, because we have to consider, what does a golden age, a golden era look like, right? And of course, the sport of boxing has had incredible eras before. We've had eras like with the Listons, the Pattersons, the Mayweathers, the Oscar de la Hoyas, the Mike Tysons. We consider these eras as golden because of the memories that they left us with. And I think that's the thing, right? A lot of the time we hold the sport of boxing currently and compare it to the time of before. And then we think, well, this is not as memorable as that, right? But that may be because of the longevity that all of these fighters, like Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield and Hector Macho Camacho, all of those people have had decades for people to remember them by. And because of the factor of nostalgia, as we age, as we mature, we only want to harken back when we were more vigorous and youthful. So, because of those things, we look at what's going on in the current era, and we think that these things will never live up to those hypes. But I just ask you, Dream, in the case of Anthony Joshua, right? How can Anthony Joshua uh, 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 has not started a golden era in the sport of boxing, in particular the heavyweight division? Dream, let me ask you something before we hop on there, and before I start to preface this by saying that I do believe that we are entering or have been in a golden era recently. I ask you this, and I ask you too, Mr. Vince Vargas: is Anthony Joshua a manufactured champion? Was he always a hype job? And is that the reason why a relatively unheralded fighter like Daniel Dubois, who was, I think, a 1-7 uh, underdog, that he would come over here and just basically, from pillar to post, completely devastate and stop Anthony Joshua? Dream, Mr. Vince Vargas, is Anthony Joshua a manufactured hype job?
Look, man. For someone to win, the gold medal, bro, like that's something you can't ignore, bro. Like he is not a hype job. Um, I think what had happened was, down the line, um, he met his match. I think he also lost the love for the sport. Once he started losing. I think he knows that he's always had holes in his game, and I feel like Andy Ruiz was the first one to expose that. You know, and honestly, I just feel like it's mostly mental for him. You know, uh, he's still in shape. He still looks good. It's just, bro, like he's just in his head. It's all mental, bro. And I just feel like it trickles down to everything that you do inside the ring, because some certain things in there, certain things in there just don't look like the old AJ. He is not the AJ anymore. Fighters do change in their careers. That's why they're saying Canelo is slowing down, because they notice a difference in his punch output. and they see how he moves inside the ring and all this. So it's clear to me that AJ is not at that level anymore. His head's not in it anymore. Because there's a certain level that you have to get to in order to be considered elite, and I don't think he's that guy anymore. Because you need the whole package. You need the mental. You need the mental to get in there, and I feel like Usyk, bro, is just such a he's such a small heavyweight, bro. I feel like you just gotta get your like head in the game, bro. Like you just gotta have everything cleared off your mind, like, and you gotta be willing to learn. Like just gotta dig, bro. Like that's what champions do, bro. Like we at least want to see some resiliency. Even though you're having a hard time with these fighters, give them a hard time. Give them something that we all want to watch. Like make us sit down and watch your fights, man. I'm not saying that he's a boring fighter. I'm saying because his last fight was fucking incredible. It's just it was. I know he didn't win. He got knocked out, but it was memorable for sure. But it's just, man, it's like we don't want to see you like that. We don't want to see you get dominated like that because I think this was his worst fight of his career. He did not look like he was ready, at all. And I don't think I think he thought he was gonna lose already, bro. Like just went in there to lose almost, and he just didn't have any answers, bro. It's kind of embarrassing. So I don't know, man. He for him to win the gold medal, bro. Like he definitely got on the decline once he lost to Andy Ruiz. I think he just wanted that perfect image, you know. And honestly, it just takes one shot to get hurt in the heavyweight division, and that's something he can't get over, bro. Like, just gotta have heart at that point. I think once you're at that elite level, it's gonna require heart to fucking win these fights. You're not dominant like you think you are. Sometimes you may not be the fastest. Sometimes you may not be the strongest. You just that's why they call it boxing because you just gotta time a dude up, and you gotta outpoint the dude. I mean, not outpoint him, but or depending on the situation, but you just gotta be a smart fighter, bro. It's just AJ's just not head is not in the game, bro. As you can see, he had Dubois hurt. I'm pretty sure the old AJ would have knocked out Dubois.
Yeah.
That was just such a out of character AJ that tells us, hey, your head is not even in the game because you're in great shape. You're just working out at this point and making
Mhm.
weight. That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
It's just your head's not in the game. So yeah, it's just
M-
some see and some fighters decline and some fighters go on the uptrend. The
Yeah.
AJ is just that dude that got in his own head. Telling you, it's 90% mental.
Mr. Vince Vargas answers that by saying the fight game has changed, just like the NFL basketball. All sports evolve. He continues and says, exactly. We lived through those golden years, so I tend to lean old school. I think we all do, for the most part, Mr.
Bro,
Vargas. We do tend to think. Well, because we're from a different generation. I'm not too sure how old you are, Mr. Vargas. I'm 45. You guys were there when I celebrated my 45th in January. And I reckon maybe you're around there because the surety of the words that you use, the way that you express yourself reminds me of someone like me and how they would express themselves. So I think maybe, you and I were from that kind of generation where we grew up as certain fighters. We conducted ourselves in a certain way. And that is a bit more old school, right? Mr. Vince Vargas says maybe AJ doesn't have the DAWG in him.
dog.
That's always been a question, right? Especially after he lost, right? And then after he lost the second time, this time to Alexander Usyk, that's when everybody really questioned not only his mental status but the dog in him, right? Because the
Oh,
dog is not only just what takes place in the ring. The dog is also the maturity of mind required to accept the humility brought on by defeat and to accept it gracefully. And a
Maturity.
lot of, yeah, and a lot of people thought that he really went off the rails, had some kind of a nervous breakdown and trying to take make it all about himself when Alexander Usyk ended up beating him for a second time, right? um he goes on and says, Wilder Joshua gonna finally happen, or have they fought before? It has not happened. Seen a post that said that it never has. I don't even think they've ever sparred. But that is a very likely fight, on account that people still they still hold on, they still cling on, and rightfully so. They still cling on to these fighters for what they represent. In the case of Deontay, the bronze bomber Wilder, he represents a faction of the boxing world that's very uh, Afrocentric, very African American centric, especially with the LDBC, the Lions Den Boxing Club's circles. That has been one of their heroes. Hey, that's fine. I don't chastise him for looking up to these guys. Unless, of course, it clouds their judgment and they make it all about an individual or a color at the discredit of every other. But nonetheless, I do understand that he has a lot of pull with a big, I would say, a big, important section of the boxing world, and so does AJ. AJ, let's recall, AJ has been the sole individual that has revolutionized and spirited once again the heavyweight division after a moment of stagnancy and almost dormancy, right? We had the Klitschko brothers that dominated for almost what was it, close to 20 years, like
Yeah.
15 years, right? And and then in the case when Vitali retired, no wait, was it, who was it? No, Vitali, when he retired and then Vladimir took over, it became one of the most boring eras of boxing because of the fighting style of Klitschko, right?
Mm.
And recall that when Anthony Joshua came onto the sport, he revived all of Britain, and especially the heavyweight division. They
Yeah.
had a hero, and the memories that he's created. He has been one of the catalysts for the most incredible stories written in the sport of boxing in the past history. Dream, let me ask you something. You said this. I asked you a question, and you said this. I asked you, is Anthony Joshua a manufactured hype job? And you said, how can he be when he was a gold medal Olympian?
But not only
Now,
that, but he was fighting at a very high level, bro. Like he was a world champion for a reason. When he beat Waldemir,
mhm,
Klitschko, he was, on the uptrend.
mhm.
So those moments right there, and he was in the big fights. I think he's a Hall of Famer.
You mean
But
Anthony Joshua or Vladimir Klitschko?
AJ,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, so no, I don't think that's even a question. I don't think there's a question that he will make the Hall of Fame. But when we go back to the question of whether or not Anthony Joshua is a manufactured hype job, we don't have to go far to get an answer that would indicate yes in the affirmative. He absolutely is. Why? Because we have the homie Ricky in the chat. Homie Ricky, we had a conversation in private, and we've had it before. I'm a big fan of AJ. Uh, you are a fan of AJ, but you believe you've been a realist in addressing AJ's career. And you, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to, you know, misquote you, but I believe you said he is a manufactured hype job. At least I know you said he was a manufactured champion. I don't know about a hype job. That the hype job, that term right there would be so much harder for you to substantiate. But the homie Ricky did say that he's been a manufactured champion ever since that gold medal. Now, Dream, recall that in the Olympics where Anthony Joshua won his gold medal, the last fight in where he beat and there was Landi. I think it was there was Landi something, a Cuban fighter. He a That fight right there was one of the very first fights where the Olympic Boxing Commission, the International Olympic Commission, the IOC, changed
Erislandy
the
Sabon.
rules. Sabon, Erislandy Sabon. Yes, exactly. A standout Cuban prospect that never left the island. And apparently, he won the majority of the rounds, right? On a point based Olympic system. Now, in that year, that fight exactly, if I'm not mistaken, the Olympic Commission changed the rules and said it was uh, in total, so that Anthony Joshua had like the third round, or maybe it was the first or the second, I can't remember, but he landed a lot of punches. Now, if you go based off the punch count, I believe that's how it worked. Anthony Joshua landed more punches against Erislandi Sabon than Erislandi Sabon landed on him. Except Erislandi Sabon, he won rounds based off the points, which are basically the touches or the punches landed in each round. So Erislandi Sabon won 2 rounds or so, maybe even three. But on that fight, Anthony Joshua landed more punches in total. So that was very controversial because it just happened to be that it was on that fight where Anthony Joshua had an opportunity to win silver or win gold. Long story short, I don't think it would have mattered, right? Because silver is a heck of a medal to win, anyways. But he was awarded the gold, and from there on out, Arislani Sabon became just a figment of a history in the sport of boxing, which will never be remembered. Anthony Joshua, that victory led him to the acclaim and recognition of the world over. Before us, we saw a black, beautiful man, Adonis for the modern era, a chiseled fighter that had a good look, and according to the homie Ricky, a career and a persona that was fake, right? The thing is this, Dream, 1, 2, 3. The thing is this, Mr. Vince Vargas. It has been accused, it has been stated that Anthony Joshua has been fake all along, that he has been a D bag, that he's a jerk, that he was never a good guy, that he used to peddle drugs and be a bully, picking on people and beating them up, and that in order for him to become the successful multimillionaire that he is, Eddie Hearn and his handlers had to manage his social media, present him to the world in certain, you know, interviews where they taught him what to say, how to conduct himself, so that he can leave that whole poor man street thug personality behind and become a person that people can consider to be a role model. Have you heard those stories, Stream?
No, bro, I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't. I mean,
Whoa,
I
you never heard
all,
that?
no, like as far as like how he treats people, I don't know, bro. But yeah, I just know that he has a good resume and he's beaten some tough fighters. Some tough fighters that have actually given other tough fighters some losses. Like a Joseph Parker, um, like a Dominic Brazil, Charles Martin, who gave Jared Anderson a tough ass fight, who actually got knocked out, but he's at that level. I mean, he's just not at that level anymore, mentally. And it takes that mentality, bro. You just gotta be willing to to take heat, to take punches, bro. Like it's just, I feel like I almost feel like he just doesn't like to go through pain. I feel like he can. Um, I feel like he does. I feel like he does have a chin. I just feel like he just, in a sense, kind of mentally gives up. You gotta know that you're gonna win this fight. And I feel like he has that mentality to like I hope I win. Like he's got to have that game plan. Okay, he's got to like go to sleep. Like he's got to sleep on it and be like, how am I gonna beat this guy? He get even if he gave me you a hard time in the amateurs, I mean, in sparring, like you just gotta be like, man, like, okay, how am I gonna beat this guy? Like, especially if you sparred him, you gotta know a little bit more. You know, you either know you either he either was really confident or really just not confident. One or the other. Like because you don't go in there and accept this fight with dude like Dubois, not unless you had a great sparring. You know, um, so some fighters take fights knowing that they're gonna win, and some fighters take fights hoping that they're gonna win. And I think Joshua was hoping that he was gonna win this, and that's just the difference, bro. It's a mentality. You gotta sleep on it. I remember when I sparred Ricardo, I'm like, I'm sleep. Sometimes I sleep, and I'm like, I wonder if I like gave him a good one on like in the belly button, because I kept trying to go for the liver, and yeah, I'm just like, I think I would have sat him, but yeah, no, it's just shit like that, It's just yeah, yeah, man. That's what it is. It's the mentality. Go ahead.
Okay, so you haven't heard the rumors about. See, this is the reason why I wanted the homie Ricky to hop on, right? Because I know he would be chewing us out
Well,
for not understanding the history
okay.
of Anthony Joshua's quote
To
unquote fabricated hype job career. You
well,
know, but
to help y'all,
mm,
he like we seen stints of him, throwing belts out. He just has a
mm.
bad mentality. That told me everything about him right there when he threw out Usyk's fucking belts out the ring. You
Well, that
know,
just means he's emotional. That
yeah,
doesn't
no
mean
one
he's a
does that though.
manufactured hype job, right?
No
Like,
one
I
does
mean,
that
okay,
though.
let's look at his career. Okay, when you think about a manufactured hype job, I mean, a manufactured champion. You would have to look at whether or not his wins have been valid, right? And of course, let me ask you. In the case of Anthony Joshua and the fight that really broke him into the sport, right? I think he had already fought Dylan White. That had been a British international fight right there, a huge fight over there. It was a great fight while it lasted. Anthony Joshua dug in deep in a very close fight, and he knocked out Dylan White, who was very scrappy, a bad speaking man. Dylan White is what you call a bad man, right? And he knocked out that guy, slept him. Right, so that's the first thing that's got people clamoring, hooting for that guy. Then he had an opportunity to really prove himself against an old veteran, and really a former champion of a decade long reign in the heavyweight division, Vladimir Klitschko. Now, recall what happened, the backstory, right? The context. Vladimir Klitschko had been in a year and a half layoff before, or a little longer before he ended up facing Anthony Joshua. His last fight had been against Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury and him, they put on one of the most boring fights I've ever seen in my life. In fact, it is quite inconceivable that two huge giants of such hefty weights would put on such an anticlimactic and boring, uneventful performance. It was basically a jab and a hold, a jab and a hold. And it was who does the jab and the hold better. Now, we knew that Klitschko had been the leader of the jab and the hold. Maybe the jab and the two and then a hold, right? That was his shtick. He always had the physical advantage over his nemesis. He was taller, he was rangier, he was very strong, and he would hit you with a punch, and then he would close in on you, hug you, and he would neutralize your counter punching or your aggression afterwards, right? He would bend you down, get on top of you. He would weld down your torso, and that's how he ended up winning. Vladimir Klitschko lost the same way at the hands of Luke Tyson Fury. Luke Tyson Fury did the same thing to him, right? Nobody knocked themselves down. It was a very boring fight. And then he, quote unquote, retired, right, for a year and a half. People say that Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua brought him back from the ashes, brought him back from retirement, and maybe he did officially retire, right? Because he'd been the champion for like 10 years. And they fought for a belt, right? They fought, if I'm not mistaken, they ended up fighting Vladimir because Fury had abandoned his belts after that victory, because afterwards it was determined that he had some kind of pets on one of the fights afterwards, right? He let go of the belts instead of getting a drug tested, or long story short, it doesn't matter. Luke Fury is not part of it. But what I'm trying to get at is Vladimir Klitschko was, you can say, a fresh fighter that never took no wear on his fight of a year and a half before against Tyson Fury, and he goes over there and he puts on one of the greatest fights in the past decade of heavyweight boxing. Anthony Joshua and Vladimir Klitschko knock each other down. They both get themselves up. Both of them are very tired. They have to dig in deep, and Anthony Joshua knocks him. Vladimir Klitschko, ever the great legendary warrior, he gets up. Anthony Joshua goes after him, pushes him to the ring. Boom, 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 boom. The third man goes in there, waves his hands. You're done. It was one of the craziest, most exciting fights in the recent boxing history, especially in the heavyweight division, right? So people say that the manufacturing of AJ's career started right there, where they had to bring a retired old 40 something year old fighter who has lost the fight before against Tyson Fury, and that's where all of a sudden he became a champion that had more renown and acceptance to the sport at large, because he beat that guy in the way he beat him. What do you think about that, Dream? Do you think after having taken Vladimir Klitschko to deep waters and knocking him out after Klit had been out for the sport for a year and a half, is that a valid victory, or is that something that led to a manufacturing of a career?
Um, I mean, once he beat Waldemir Klitschko, I mean, I gotta look back at that fight. Like, was Waldemir on the downtrend? You know,
Well, he was
I don't know.
40.
Yeah, he was 40, so maybe he was a little older, but that's a legend right there, bro.
Yes, exactly.
So it's just maybe he's actually the best win. Because I was right here, I commented AJ's best win is Joseph Parker, just because how good that win is aging, you know.
Hmm.
So um, yeah, it's just like it's either one of those guys, you know. But it's just he's just on the downtrend, bro. And I think Dubois is actually one of those guys that's actually on the uptrend, bro. Like he's not scared to throw and exchange with guys, you know, and that's what makes him a threat to a lot of guys, you know, because he's willing to do all
Hmm.
that. But that can also be a bad thing. A bad thing, maybe a Big Bang Zhang actually cleans him up, you know, with his willingness to exchange in the box too, you know. So it just depends, bro. Just styles makes fight. It just
Hmm.
it's just uncharacteristic, like of AJ. His if you because if you look at his career, the way he's fighting right now, he should have never beat those guys. Some of these guys, you know, I think right now Joseph Parker
That's
beats
a good
AJ.
point, actually. That's a good point.
I think AJ. I think AJ loses to Joseph Parker today. He's just not at that level anymore mentally. Um, and maybe it could be physically too, bro. It could probably be physically too. And then, um, yeah, man, it's like that AJ knockout. I mean, AJ Andy Ruiz knockout. I just
Mhm.
felt like he was like he just never felt that much pain, you know, and he was just like, it was just in his head mostly, You
You
know,
know, let me ask you something before we go on there,
yeah.
because the homie Ricky has just joined us, and I'm gonna let him off go off on his rant because I really want the world at large to understand when people say that AJ is a manufactured champion and quote unquote hype job. I'm not saying that that's what homie Ricky stated about him, the hype job part. I would find that to be quite illogical and disrespectful if he did. But one last question for you, Dream. Before we talk about Joseph Parker rematching Wilder and I mean Anthony Joshua and whether or not that would be a victory that Joseph Parker would take, or maybe even a Dylan White now, Tyson Fury, any of those other, Zile saying the only fight that people are talking about and seems quite logical under the circumstances and would be a 50-50 that would still generate multi-millions would be AJ versus Deontay Wilder. Quick answer, straight up and down. Who wins?
Mm. I would have to say AJ, because
Okay.
Wilder's just horrible. He's horrible.
More.
At least AJ got some fundamentals
Wait.
that
Is he a bum?
no, nah.
Yeah,
AJ's
there
a
you
Hall
go.
of
I
Famer.
love that. I love that. Yes. Help me, Ricky. I know you're there, man. Talk to me. How do you do?
I'm doing good, brother. Just give me a second. I'm just
All
doing a
right, all
couple
right, all
things right
right.
here at work.
All right. Well, we got a little more time to ask Mr. Vince Vargas who wins that fight right there, sir. Mr. Vince Vargas. The spotlight is on you. Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, both of them have lost recently. Both of them have lost devastatingly so. And it has been a fight that people have asked for wow, like how long? 5 years, right? It's
Oh
a
yeah,
overly marinated
it's
fight.
perfect right now.
Perfect right now, right?
Yeah,
Look, it's perfect right now as it was when they were undefeated and had all four belts, right?
and see that's perfect though because AJ is coming off a loss.
Mhm.
Wilder's coming off a loss, and um, and that's what makes AJ a Hall of Famer almost, bro, because he's so damn marketable. He has so many directions to go. You know, yeah, he just he just making bad memories at this point, bro. You know, and he just
Wow.
got to pick his fights, bro. Like honestly, like I don't think he should have never fought at Dubai if he fought like that, bro. If
Well,
I knew I was gonna look
so
like that, I would be like, nah, I'm not taking that fight. Let me fight Wilder instead. You know.
look, look. Okay, recall when this this downward spiral happened to AJ. What round was it where he got first dropped? Was it the first round?
I think so. Maybe even the third round, but
No. He got
yeah,
dropped multiple rounds. I think he got dropped in 3 rounds. But I ask
yeah.
you, right?
First, third, fourth, and fifth.
Yes. Um, Mr. Vince Vargas says that given Anthony Joshua's last performance, he's got Wilder, right? And he says, I don't think Wilder will fear Joshua this time, so it may give him that confidence. Okay, what I'm trying to get at is this, right? You brought up something. You said that it seems like AJ. Did you say that it takes AJ a little while to recover?
Um,
I think you said he
maybe.
has chin, but oh, okay, sorry. I think you said he's got chin, but he doesn't really have dog, right? Like he
Yeah.
can give up. Okay. Now you have to understand, right, that he got up 4 times in that fight, right? So is he chinny?
No, it's just he has
Yeah, you can say he's more chinnier than he's got dog because he had enough dog to pick himself up from the floor 4 times, but
he had
he
his
was
head
chinny
down.
enough to. Yeah, well, okay, that's very bad form, very bad technique. We were gonna get there. That is of course his worst performance, and we'll probably address that and chalk it up to what the homie Ricky stated. I think it was Mr. Vince Vargas or the homie Ricky stated. They said something to the effect of he should never have left Robert
He just
Garcia.
but this is the thing too, though. Dubai landed a short hook, and
Mhm.
with Wilder, you're gonna see that shit coming from a mile away because he loads up, you know, and
True.
that's easier for AJ to negate, you know. That right from Dubai was short, you know, so that's why it's kind of like he just timed him up twice, threw it twice. He wasn't expecting the second one, you know, he wasn't expecting the second a second hook, and it was he just ran right into it, bro, and he just didn't have a good game plan, bro. Like he just needed to set it, like think more, set up your shots, jab more. You know, he just bum rushed him once he seen that he hurt him. Bro, he almost put him, like he didn't almost put him away, but he had him hurt. He had him hurt. If you could have your opponent hurt, then you just gotta then you're capable of knocking this dude out and putting, you know, and winning this fight. It's just that AJ just didn't have a good game plan.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to get at though, Dream, is this. Um, Anthony Joshua got hurt from the early part of the fight, right? Now, if if he is an individual that it takes him a little while to recover, that's going to affect him, right? I was engaging with somebody in the YouTube world somewhere, and they said it's oh no, I think it was Boxing Beats and Rhymes. I think he said that it seems like Anthony Joshua, once he gets dropped, it has to be a very notable kind of punch to get him dropped in the first place. And I believe the punches that Daniel Dubois landed were notable. They were significant. Most of them were tempo shots, right? Now, it's hard to recover from a tempo shot. I don't know if you've ever, had any issues with tinnitus or balance or vertigo, but anyways, it is very similar to, like that, right? You have 270-pound men punching you at one of the most softest areas in your body, which leads directly to your brain. Those are your temples. And he got rocked with a temple shot. Now, I believe I believe AJ is has more dog than he has chin. That's why he gets dropped so many times. And I also think he has an issue with recovery after he has been hurt. But I wouldn't necessarily say that AJ would lose to Deontay Wilder because like what you mentioned, right? You can see those telegraph punches from a mile away, especially now that Deontay Wilder is so reluctant to throw. He's very gun shy. But can we not say that AJ this past weekend looked so gun shy? In fact, I don't think he landed any significant round besides the one that he landed just a few seconds before he got knocked out. I guess what I'm saying is this.
Wait, what was it? What was the question? Sorry.
Well, I'm just trying to analyze if Deontay Wilder uh, would be able to beat Anthony Joshua on
Oh,
account of the kind of man that I think Anthony Joshua has become. I think Anthony Joshua, it would be unfair
Hold on,
to.
Steve. Let me
Okay,
interject real quick.
all right,
Not
buddy.
only what the kind of man that Anthony Joshua has become, what about the kind of man that Deontay Wilder became? That dude sucked in his last fight, bro. His last two
yeah,
fights, he's looked horrible.
yeah.
He fought Joseph Parker. He looked horrible. Did not win one round, did not win 10 seconds of that fight. Joseph Parker was bombing this dude, okay? And then he fought Big Bang Zhang, and that dude made him twirl like a ballerina. And he was smiling and oh shit. Listen, Wilder and Joshua, they were meant for each other, okay? Both of them had fake careers. Fake careers, bro. Like, what I mean by fake career is this. Yes, Wilder did knock out Chris Arreola, right? But how he became a champion, beating Bermain Stiverne, same thing how Joshua collected all of those belts. All through vacancies, essentially, especially when it comes down to Joshua. We talked about this, like you're talking about in private. We had a private conversation. Okay, it starts with Charles Martin, okay? I think at that time, AJ's best fight was Dylan White. I don't think any of us would say that Dylan White is a Hall of Famer or that we would say that he's an amazing fighter or an amazing champion. None of us would say that. Okay, so that's was Joshua's best fight before he fought, or in or around that time when he fought Charles Prince Martin. And Charles Prince Martin, he should have never became a champion in the first place. Okay, he fought this dude Glasgow or Glowacki or something like that, and the dude broke his leg or tore his Achilles in 3 rounds. All right, you have to go at least the end of 4 or past 4 to go to the scorecards if there's an accidental clash, whatever the case may be. Okay, so for example, just in recent memory, Tim Tszyu got elbowed by Sebastian Fedora accidentally. He could have quit right there on the stool, but he decided to go past the second round. Had he decided to quit, we would have become a no contest. Charles and Martin should have been a no contest. Anyway, Eddie Hearn realized that Charles Martin was a fake champion, right? The people booed Charles Martin in that fight because he was losing in 2 rounds, by the way. And they overpaid him like 4 to 8 million. They just say 4 to 10 million because I think the numbers were 5 or 6 million for Charles Martin to go over to the UK, and he got dropped 4 or 5 times in 2 rounds, and then the ref stopped it. That's how AJ became a champion. That whole process right there was fake. Was Charles the Prince Martin a great champion? Did he earn it the right way? No. All of that was fake. This is Al Heyman. Okay? This was all Al Heyman. This is all politics. Anyway, so that's what happened. Joshua becomes a champion. I'm not too sure if he had a fight in between, but Eddie Hearn, because we're trying to build this fighter. We're trying to make pay-per-view stars. We have, like you said, he's a chiseled Adonis, you know. He's big. He's charismatic. People like his accent, man. You know, this dude's a trap artist, all this shit, right? And they call out Klitschko, who has coming off a loss from Tyson Fury, basically 1 or 2 years removed from the sport, is 40 years old. Now, Klitschko being another Superman from Russia, he's chiseled, he's 6'6", he's had a boring-ass career where all he does is 1-2, lean on you, 1-2, illegal tactics, tires you out, then you get knocked out. That's Klitschko. So Joshua calls this dude out. They fight and have an amazing fight, by the way. An amazing fight where basically in just that performance, 100,000 people in Wembley, these dudes are coming out in cathedral-like stadiums, and there's a platform with a lift and a crane that's, you know, catapults these dudes like a cannonball in midair. The fireworks pop off. It's a fucking show. This is A Star is Born overnight, okay? And then with that amazing fight, like, I don't care if any of us were there, but if we were all there, let's just say, we're like, that's the best night in my life, best night to remember from an athletic standpoint, right? As a fan. So everybody wins. Boxing has the passing of the torch, out with the old, in with the new. He beat the legend, whoop-de-woo. It's a Cinderella story, right? The money makes itself. So that's what happened. At that point, Joshua has 3 belts. Okay, or he has 2 out of the 3. Then, because I think he ends up fighting Joseph Parker soon after. And then at that time, that would be Anthony Joshua's best win. But Joseph Parker, mind you guys, he's not having a real career either. It's kind of fake as well. And he probably had a draw against Andy Ruiz. It was a boring-ass heavyweight fight. Okay, these are bigger than men in life sense, and they're fighting like flyweights. Outboxing. It's like, no, bro, go throw some haymakers. You're a fucking big boy. Go use the fucking 250, pounds that you got, the 4 plates that you bench, the 600 pounds that you squat, put that in force. No, Parker starts boxing El Chaparrito Andy Ruiz in New Zealand, and they basically rob Andy Ruiz when it should have been a draw, but that's how he becomes a champion through vacancy or whatever. Okay, so then soon after, Joshua unifies against them. Every single part of what I just explained has been fake. It's not real. It's just for show, right? And again, we cannot ask ourselves who benefits from this. Not you and me. I mean, in what particular sense? Now, that's just the politics behind it. Let's not deviate too much so far. Let's just look at it from just an outsider looking in. And you ask yourself, are you entertained by Anthony Joshua? Absolutely. Did you like the Klitschko fight? Yes. Did you like the Andy Ruiz fights? Yes. Did you like seeing him get knocked out versus Daniel Dubois? Was that not shocking in that fashion? Yeah, it was shocking. Were you not entertained? Yeah, we were entertained. So from an entertaining, standpoint, sure, he checks off all those. But when we talk about like a fake career. That's what it looks like. AJ's point was, look, to be fair, he's accomplished much more than what I expected that he would ever accomplish. But again, it's a mediocre heavyweight division where there's only a few bona fide, legit fucking fighters in that weight class. I've always talked about this. Same thing with Deontay Wilder. He's never been that amazing of a fighter. He just has that one knockout power. Guys like Archer Spilka can outbox him, but if he lands that fucking Alabama slammer, like, you're out. Like, it's just what it is. But with the whole Mark Breland situation, that he has an autopsy and all of these things, never focus on his jab, footwork, uppercuts, left hook, blocking, chin down, nothing. So they didn't really take themselves serious because at the end of the day, they're heavyweights, so they can always rely on that power. Not the defense, not the chin, not the heart. It's just power, right? So again, that's what I mean by like fake careers. It's all about trying to make the most money for the limited athletes. Kind of like you said when we were speaking in private as well. These guys aren't like Muhammad Ali. These guys aren't like Mike Tyson in the sense that they're really like professionals when it came down to that element. You get what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by a fake career. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think so. Because if I, like, we talked about this in previous lives, when we talk about how he became a gold medalist, then you start from there in 2012 with London. So that Cuban Ereslani Savon had to knock him out. And he almost did, but he had to literally sleep him in order there to be no shadow of a doubt. Anthony Joshua, to your guys' point, make it past 3 rounds, he'll get dropped, right? But under 3 rounds with padded headgear and all that stuff, he'll make it and he'll become a champion. So again, everything about it has been fabricated. Now, when the curtain gets revealed and he fights guys that actually know how to box and take a punch, like Usyk, like Andy Ruiz, when dedicated, and fighters like that, then you start seeing why he's exposed. And, it is what it is. That's my point of view when I look at Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. Okay? They've always been overrated, but they're overachievers, if you can fit both in that same category.
So, so, so,
I'm looking at these comments.
Dream. So, all right. So hey, it's Arimeri. Wow, so tiny, bro. It was almost like he was just waiting there in the background for the perfect moment to just come with the hilarity, come with the lightheartedness. Good even fall to you, Arimeri. Good even fall. I am so happy, ladies and gentlemen, that I got to reunite once again with my friends from around the world. El Pachuco from I think he's even from El Chuco, Texas. Eddie Medi, who's probably in Japan right now. Mr. Vince Vargas up north in California. This is a pleasure, guys. It's been too long. It really has been too long. It has been a very tough month. I've been dealing with near catastrophe, from the highest of peaks in life to the lowest to back up again. And like I told Dream, all I can do is look up to the sky and hope that the Supreme listens to me when I say thank you for not breaking my heart. But nonetheless, I'm so happy that every single one of you guys is right here. Addie Medi says fabricated like Oscar de la Hoya's wife. Yeah. And every other part of her. Pachuco stays at Vince Vargas, at War Speed, at Homie Ricky. It's great to see you guys. Excellent boxing discussions as always. Thank you very much for that, mi amigo. Thank you very much, El Pachuco, for making time to hang out with us. It's always a pleasure to have you guys here.
That's funny, man.
Yeah. So Dream, I told you that when it came to explaining the manufacturing, quote unquote, of AJ's career, no one was gonna do it better than the homie Ricky. Now, before I ask you,
let me add one last piece, though.
No, come on, man. You just went on for like 30 minutes, bro. This is you. This is the guy that didn't even want to hop on the live.
I hear you.
You're the guy who's like, I don't.
But I'm gonna say this though. It's every promoter's dream. By the way, I will say this. It's every promoter's dream to have an Anthony Joshua on the roster. Frank Warren wants an Anthony Joshua. Oscar De La Hoya, Bob Arum. They're all trying to build that particular person in Anthony Joshua. If you can take a decent boxer, but that looks the part, okay, because Anthony Joshua is decent. He's not an all-time great, all right? In terms of this modern era, he's fought everybody. So that's one thing I'll give him props, right? Like, he still needs Tyson Fury. He still needed King Kong Ortiz. I mean, there's still a lot of fighters that he hasn't fought or got into that stage to fight in his career because either, he's taken a loss or, whatever. But, there's, for the majority, he's fought like a lot of fighters. But todavía le falta un chingo, like Zhang, Wilder at that time, Fury. He circumvented a lot of action to get to this position. Now that's just politicking, right? Like, every manager, every boxer, promoter, this is what they do to fixate and create a mega fight and a mega star. So it's everybody's dream to more or less have an Anthony Joshua on their roster, right? But what I want to say is one thing is this. I'm proud of AJ. I mean, you guys have covered his fights and stuff like that. But, like, I'm proud of what he's able to accomplish because the dude, let's say if he was a drug dealer, right? And I think everyone has said this and there's in documentaries. Like, he's changed his life around. So there's always a great silver lining behind it. But that also, by that same metric, don't feel like you have to, like, put your superhero cape and, like, no, dude, this guy. Like, no, dude. In reality, the dude's probably, a fucking asshole, But again, they're gonna not show you that aspect of life because, dude, I'm sure you guys all seen that interview with Robert Downey Jr. There's this interviewer asking him questions and about drug, like his time in, like, when he was taking drugs and he was getting locked up and stuff. And he was like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Like, we're here promoting fucking Iron Man 3. Like, this is not the fucking time to be doing this shit. So again, they're not going to show you that aspect. But when you start narrowing down the real fighters, like an Alexander Usyk, who fights all of those tough guys in the cruiserweight division, Brady's, Dorticos, fucking, who was it? Not Marady's. Marady's, Brady's, Dorticos. He fights guys like Murat Gassiev. All of these dudes that are all knockout artists, undefeated, and you have to go through the hard works, right? People aren't going to give you a lot of recognition for those names in comparison to an Anthony Joshua. But then you see the molding of a true fucking fighter. Again, I'm going to just, throw a little nug at you just because this is your guy. But Lomachenko, another fucking fake career, dude. Like,
Okay, this is what.
let me explain.
You got it riled up now.
No,
I know.
This is where we draw the line. This is where we draw the line. Whoa. This is where we draw the line. Okay, here's the thing. Just to counter a couple of your arguments, my contention has always been that Anthony Joshua was granted opportunities and he made the best of them. I don't think there is any fabrication. There is no manufacturing in a fight such as Klitschko versus Joshua, because that was a hellacious test that no other champion, Wilder, Fury, and even when Fury did, he did not live up to that moment. Anthony Joshua lived up to the moment, took an opportunity that was going to be the hardest test for anybody. How do we know? Because for a decade and more, Vladimir Klitschko, he was the toughest test for anybody. That's why he went on that long run without ever losing. And Anthony Joshua took that opportunity, and there is no manufacturing, there is no fabricating that victory. He went through hell and back. He dug in deep where other fighters would not have done that. They, in fact, didn't. That's why he lost, right? That's why they all lost, and that's why he won. Now, it's an opportunity, right? You make it seem like if they paid Vladimir Klitschko money under the table. See, that's manufacturing. Right? Manufacturing would mean that they played their cards and set up the context of where the fights took place and how, in order for Anthony Joshua to win. How? How do we know what manufacturing looks like? Because we have to compare the career of Anthony Joshua to somebody like, let's say, Gervonta Tank Davis, a guy who pulls every single political maneuver, weight division changes, going up and down whenever it is to pick the baby belt holders. He puts on
Absolutely.
weight caps. This is not what Anthony Joshua has done. In
Well,
fact,
he can't
Anthony,
do, by
wait
the
up,
way.
Anthony, exactly, because it's the heavyweight
Yeah,
division.
absolutely. That's a big
Now,
boy
okay,
division.
exactly. Now he goes on, and you are saying that his handlers, right, were willing to pay $8 million to Charles the Prince Martin, in order for him to take that fight, as if they were paying him $8 million to take a dive. That fight, for as short as it lasted, right, was an authentic fight where both of them came to win. Right? You make it seem like they knew that Charles Martin was going to lose, right? Because if that's the case, homie Ricky, you're
He did.
saying that, oh, they did, because Charles Martin was handicapped, right? He had his hands tied behind his back, and he didn't have a gum shield, so he was just gonna go there, be knocked out, right? See, this is the kind of
Absolutely.
this is the kind of
I walk this
embarrassment.
earth like I'm a
This
god.
is this is the kind of embarrassing conversations that we get from a lot of disrespectful boxing fans, that basically take any fight that they don't like the outcome for, and that they would like to have the opportunity to contest and to refute, by making it seem like the opponent is not in control of what takes place in his own fight. Charles Martin came to win and defend himself, and the fact that he made 8 million would have only been an incentive to further his ability to win, because he knew if he could get paid 8 million, the next fight he would get paid even more. But you don't look at it like that. You look at it like Charles Martin was there to be a soft touch and to lose, as if Charles Martin was like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna lose. Secondly, you talked about fighters such as Joseph Parker and Andy Ruiz, and all of these fighters,
Yeah.
as if going over there and fighting, like, what you say, lightweights, right? When they're supposed to become over here aggressive and power punching and everything. Hilarious, because so contradictory. The best fighter in the world right now, a pound for pound, legitimate one or two, guess who it is? It's a heavyweight that fights like a lightweight. Alexander Usyk. All right? And you're not talking about that guy. You're not talking about that guy as you'd expect him to fight in the other way, right? You're like, bro,
Bro,
he's the best.
Usyk
He
be
can beat
throwing
up all of these
bombs,
fighters.
bro.
He can beat up everybody. And how is he
But hold on,
beating
hold
them?
on.
What? Wait,
Usyk be throwing
You're
bombs,
wrong.
but they're just
Listen,
in a matter of
wait.
straight
Well, I'm
punches.
barely. That's fine, bro. I'm just getting started. I'm just getting started because I'm telling you what your words are, right? Now, the best fighter in the heavyweight division is not a brute. It's not a come forward fighter that uses his power and his girth to take you on. It's a guy who uses skill, right? Now, this is Alexander Usyk. I want you to analyze the things that you just said and put them into context. And what you're basically saying is the reason why you believe Anthony Joshua is a manufactured champion is because Charles Martin was there to lose, as if, it's a given, right? In the heavyweight division, it's a given that the cards get played out the way you expect them to, right? So somebody like you probably put a lot of money down on on Daniel Dubois to win money, right? Against Anthony Joshua, because you would have known that all of this time Anthony Joshua was a manufactured hype job, so he was eventually gonna lose. But you know who I know didn't bet any money on that? You. You didn't bet any money. Why? Because you were like anybody else that believes that these people, like Daniel Dubois, who is in fact a quitter, who has in fact quit in the ring twice, once to Alexander Usyk and once to literally a hulking individual and Joe Joyce. He quit, right? And Anthony Joshua, the times he's lost, he's never quit. He's got knocked out. Every single time he's gone up in there, he has made champions and stars. Alexander Usyk is who he is because he beat Anthony Joshua. Andy Ruiz is who he is. The greatest story on boxing heavyweight division upsets of the world. That guy, the perpetual underdog, the epitome for all things the impossible. Andy Ruiz is who he is because he beat Anthony Joshua. When people like you disrespect AJ and say that he's a manufactured hype job, you discredit in turn Andy Ruiz, Daniel
Yes.
Dubois. You discredit
Yes.
Alexander Usyk. You do all of those things for me, Ricky. What contradiction, buddy?
So let me
What
try
contradiction?
this. So again, I said that the heavyweight division has always been extremely overrated. That means everything that you said, absolutely true. Andy Ruiz has always been overrated. All right. But he's accomplished a lot of great things for his nature. And the fact that, as you see, when things go his way, he doesn't have that same hunger for greatness. He blew up his amazing fucking performance, shocking upset against Anthony Joshua, and fucked it all away the next fight over. And then what did he do with his career after the fact? Absolutely nothing. Okay, so yeah, you can keep going down the list. And why Usyk was able to run circles and box the shit out of Joshua? Because, like I said before, overrated fighters, overrated division. He was fighting the real killers at cruiserweight with Merady Brady's, who keeps at age 40 still giving Jairo Pataya a tough fucking run for his money, and all of those fighters down there with Murat Gassiev, who knocked out the Cuban, I forgot, Mike Perez, and all of these dudes, cruiserweights. Again, you have to understand is the heavyweight division, even right now, is extremely overrated and very. It's popular because it's the big boys, but they're like the populace of that division. There's not so much amazing fighters. Again, case in point, you have Jared Anderson, not a really good fighter, right? Young, black American, undefeated, looks to might have been the part in terms of athleticism. What happens when you fight a real dude like Martin Bacoli, who's actually have a good, legitimate resume? He knocks him out badly in like 4 rounds. So this is what I'm trying to tell you. You talked about Tank Davis. Yeah, you're correct. That's another manufactured fake career. And again, I'll just throw little lunges at you with Lomachenko. But again, here's a guy, probably the greatest. Wait. Talked about this. The greatest amateur, up there with Guillermo Rigondeaux and the legends, like Hall of Fame.
He beat Rigo
because of the amateur. But dude, how does
he's greater than Rigo?
Wait. How does he get a title shot and a second fight? That's crazy, right? He loses. But after he loses, and we talked about this, and his third fight, another title shot against Gary Antoine Russell. Now, he beat the fuck out of Antoine Russell, probably like 9 rounds to 3, right? After coming off a loss from Salido. But dude, talk about working up your rankings. This is what I'm trying to talk about. It's like it's manufactured careers. So when he finally fights somebody with a pulse where he isn't the biggest dude, and you can be like, well, Lomachenko's always been the smallest dude. No, he hasn't. Okay? Not in his career. He's bigger than Nicholas Walters, bigger than Rigondeaux, bigger than Mason Bernard or the other Puerto Rican with blonde hair that fought Nicholas Walters. I forgot what his name was. He's always been the bigger guy. But when he finally fights somebody that can match his athleticism or a little bigger than him, Teofimo Lopez, what does he do? He runs for 7 fucking rounds. You mean to tell me he couldn't knock out pillow-fisted Devin Haney? But Ryan Garcia over here drinking beer in the weigh-ins knocks him out in the same one punch left hook in the opening round, 30 seconds into the fucking fight. So again, when this dude finally
because
steps up,
he's the smaller man, buddy. That's why Canelo cannot knock out Berlanga. Actually, let's transition to that. Wait up. Wait. No, that's a perfect segue.
Wait up. He knocked out.
We haven't even talked about Canelo.
Whoa. He knocked out Jorge Linares. He couldn't hit Devin Haney with some body shots?
Bro, did you see that Devin Haney is bigger than Terence Crawford? They were next to each other, bud. Come on.
What are you talking about, dude?
Let's go. No. Let's go. All right.
Okay.
Let's cut the Lomachenko crap. Dude? Okay, listen. Just to refute. Okay, before we go on and before anybody starts assuming that Warp Speed is an individual that favors skipping ranks, like my favorite fighter currently Lomachenko has done in order to secure a championship fight in the second and third outing as a pro, I will say this in my defense, right? I'm completely wait. In his defense, wait. I'm sorry. I'm like his attorney now. In his defense, you have to understand one thing, guys. There is no rhyme or reason for how people climb up ranks, right? There is no bylaws. I've read them. There is no bylaws that says X victory will climb you up X amount of spaces. There is none. It's just like all of a sudden, oh, you look good enough. Okay, hop on. How do we know this? Because it happened in Francis Ngannou. Francis Ngannou embarrassed Luke Tyson Fury, and never having been a pro, never having had a pro fight, he climbs into the top 10. Right? That's your evidence. Now,
Crazy.
when you
Crazy.
wait up, here's the other thing, guys.
I hear you. I hear
Wait
you.
up, wait up, wait up. I know it's ridiculous. Now, here's another thing. When you decide to fast forward the career of your fighter, yeah, you may be cutting the line, but you're also subjecting them to losses, to people that have weathered the storm, have way more experience than you, have seen it all before. They're obviously pros. They take pro punches, not with headgear, pro punches. They've been doing it for much longer. And if you decide to skip those lines, you're basically setting yourself up to having your fighter lose. And in the case of Lomachenko, he was offering his opponents very good, handsome money in order to get those shots, right? And let's not forget, right, that he became a champion, having beaten a fighter who's only lost to him, one of the longest reigning champions in the current era. Yes, Gary Russell Jr., a standout amateur who also became a fighter for the U.S. team in the Olympics. If I'm not mistaken, I think him and Terrence Crawford had some kind of a beef together as men coming up. But nonetheless, the Russell clan, the best fighter of the Russell clan, Gary Russell, he was defeated by a guy that has, in that time, two prior fights. One of those a loss. So what I'm trying to say is this, guy. If you were managing a career of a fighter, you would never have placed your fighter in the same perils and losses of risk of losing like Bob Arum and his handlers did to Lomachenko, right? So that's the give or take. It's not just like, oh, he cut the line. No, he's cutting the line to face killers where everybody else is taking soft touches. Now, this is another perfect segue because we have to address another thing, the soft touch gone wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, this past Saturday, we were presented to one of the greatest moments that I have seen in the sport of boxing in current years. And you know what? I know I say this all the time because we just had last year, we had Rafael Divino Espinosa beat a standout twice Olympian in what's that guy's name? Robesi Ramirez, a guy who had no prior championship experience, no name, had only 20 fights. He comes over here and he puts on a hell of a performance, beats that legendary fighter, Robesi Ramirez. We had that moment last year, one of the greatest upsets of all time in recent history. And then this past week, we had a standout top ranked prospect by the name of Alan Kid Kansas Garcia. In his corner, we have the very capable and very respectful championship trainer, Miss Gloria Alvarado, who, may I remind you just in case you're like, who? Miss Gloria Alvarado is the trainer for Miss Jocasta Valle. Jocasta Valle, yes, ladies and gentlemen, the fighter who had two belts, who faced another fighter that had two belts, Miss Iniesta Estrada from East Los Angeles. They face off for undisputed, and I believe, like the majority of people, that Jocasta Valle should have held her arm in victory as an undisputed fighter. Miss Gloria Alvarado has managed her career from the bottom to the top. She's managed the career of Kid Kansas, who had 10 fights, if I'm not mistaken. And they bring on a fighter from Spain. Now, you know Spain is not a hotbed for pugilists, right? I don't know if anybody here can name me one champion in the history of Spain that is a Hall of Famer or noteworthy. Nonetheless, a Spanish fighter by the name of Ricardo Fernandez from Spain. He goes in there a record of 15-3. Fifth round, about to wrap up so that it could begin the sixth. The Spaniard is losing every single round, every single second. Miss Gloria Alvarado has the cameras of ESPN pointed right at her in a split screen. Fighters taking place on the right side, Miss Gloria Alvarado on the left side. Every single instruction that Miss Gloria Alvarado is giving her pupil, educated and respectful, obedient, he does everything. She calls a two, he throws a two. She calls a 10. I don't know what a 10 is, but he throws a 10. Every single thing she says, he does. He's victorious up until the last few seconds of round five, when all of a sudden, in a moment of show off and bravado, Kid Kansas wants to show the world that he is not just an orthodox fighter, he can switch it. And he becomes southpaw for 5 seconds. And ladies and gentlemen, the most incredible thing happens. Ricardo Alvarado throws the only punch that I remember he landed. And it was a punch from the right hand to Kansas Allen Garcia's southpaw stance. Kid Kansas starts to wind up. He drops his left hand momentaneously. That punch lands flush as day. Kid Kansas drops to the ground. His head ricochets from the mat 3 times. Ricardo
Boom, boom.
takes a couple of steps back. He's looking. He needs the guy to stay down. Kid Kansas starts getting up, but he has a startled look. He looks dazed. The third man continues to count up. 6, 7, 8. Ricardo's just looking there, just looking there. 10 comes about. Ricardo Fernandez runs around in the circle like a kid who's been granted his very first Nintendo 64 at age of 10. The happiest kid in the world starts running around in the ring, raises up his arms, incredible, almost breaks down and cries, drops to the floor, pounds the mat. A 15 and 13 fighter, just upset, a standout, and now it is rumored that Top Rank, even though they had just recently resigned Kid Kansas, they may just cut him. It is
No, you just
heartbreak.
got right.
It is heartbreak, but
Wait,
this is the sport of boxing.
Drew, you let me know some stuff about Kid Kansas, Alan Garcia. Can you inform Speed about that whole situation with what they were doing?
Um, yeah, man. It's just that this guy, bro. So this guy only had one knockout,
Rated R
right?
version. Don't PG it, Drew. What do you know about Kid Kansas when he was doing to your Costa Valle, bro?
Oh, oh, that. Yeah, no, it's just, dude, I lost respect for him once he did that. Like, he's just like using his card to like mess with someone, bro. Like he's kind of low key doing something like illegal, kind of like. So what he did was he used his vehicle, like he uh he was pretending that he was gonna like it was like a drive by shooting and shit, and it wasn't even like it was funny to them, but like to Kid Kansas and his whole crew, and but to like Augusta Valle and everyone else, they were like, "The fuck," because they didn't even say anything. They just, I guess, they just said something and then just drove off, and started to like point like a fake gun. It wasn't even a gun. It was just like gesture, like a gesture of a gun. So so they just like
So
scared him a little bit, and then they just kind of like they acted like they were gonna like they just drove hella crazy towards them, like almost like ran them over, like pretending like they were going to or something. So
got
it's
you.
just
But let me ask you this.
that.
Why did Alan Garcia feel like he needed to do like imitate a drive-by shooting to your Costa Valle and her people? What did she beefing with the trainer? Did she change trainer? Like why does he feel like he needs to do that? You know what I mean?
Because yeah, I guess it has something to do with Castavaya leaving the Coach G, but like they wasn't even like that personal, and then he wanted to I don't know, fuck with her, I guess, but they didn't work out, and I guess what's Kid Kansas felt some type of way, and did something, and I don't know. I'm just like, bro, that's not your mom. Like, what the fuck, bro? Why? Why do you feel like you need to go out of your way? Like, I don't know. I just feel like it was more than just that. I just
And do you think that's one of that probably plays a bigger reason why Top Rank might want to drop Alan Garcia, Kid Kansas? Or do you think they don't take that into consideration? Because they sure didn't take into consideration when Shakur did that thing in Florida. Not
oh
I'm
nah nah
that's let me not bring up old shit, but you know what I mean?
nah. It has nothing to do with it, bro. I think he just everything correlates, right? Everything goes around, comes around, bro. Like it's just it's 90% mental, bro. Like I feel like if your mind ain't right, you ain't being fair to yourself, or
Yeah.
just I don't know. I just feel like
I hear you. I hear
I
you.
think everything correlates, right? Like having a good character and having good judgment and just who you are as a person. I don't know. I just feel like it all correlates to how you box. You got to behave like a fighter, bro. When you're inside the ring, bro, you got to behave like a fighter. It's not just about fighting. We're trying to win. Trying to
So
win. Trying to
do
get
you
this
think
up.
that Top Rank is kind of being very quick to the trigger to let Alan Garcia walk away?
Yeah,
Because again, Speed brought up Roby C. Ramirez. Roby C. Ramirez got knocked out in his first professional fight, or was it the
yeah.
second one?
I forget.
I don't
Second, I
know.
believe.
I think you're right. The thing might have been the second fight. He got knocked out like in the first round. He rematched the dude afterwards, beat him. So, I mean, look, when I was watching a little bit of the Alan Garcia fight before I went, to a friend's birthday or whatever the case may be, Alan, he was winning. You know, the
Yeah,
other
no,
guy
he was
wasn't
winning.
really doing anything. He didn't throw nothing. Now there were the
Yeah,
times where he showed the right hand, but you're like, oh, this guy is looping it. And then obviously he got in trouble when he switched southpaw. But look, man, there was one thing that Speed said that I forgot to address when he said it. So I'm gonna address it now. The reason I didn't bet on Dubois versus AJ, I went to a friend's party, so I didn't even get to watch the fight. But me and Drew, the night before on Friday, we went to a round one, which is like our version here in Salinas, like a Devin Busters, and we're watching the Jaime Munguia versus Eric Bazinian. Me and him are talking about that fight tomorrow. This is Friday of last week. We're talking about AJ versus Dubois, and he's like, "Hey, bro, like, what do you think about this fight?" Kind of like what I told him, and I told you also in confidence was AJ hasn't been having real fights, right? He knocked out Francis Ngannou 1 or 2 rounds. Then he knocked out the other dude the southpaw that went the distance with Tyson Fury, I don't know, 6 years ago. Daniel Dubois, though, has been fighting guys like Jarrell Miller, right? Who he went the distance, eventually knocked him out. But like I don't know if Jarrell Miller had been absent, and then he flips it around fighting an undefeated Filip Hrgovic. So these are tough contenders, back to back, real fights, not exhibition matches. Not who is the biggest, baddest man and who's going to win the biggest, baddest man, world title, Turki Al Sheikh. No, he's fighting legitimate fights. Daniel Dubois. So I told Drew, Dubois probably wins that shit, but I need to see that he won't quit, right? Because to Anthony Joshua's credit, he went 24 rounds when shit wasn't going his way and almost knocked out Usyk in the 10th round or the ninth or whatever the case may be in the
Ninth.
rematch. In the ninth.
Yeah.
What's his name? Dubois, aka Diglett, bro. When he
Who's
didn't
Diglett?
count him
Who's
for
Diglett?
Diglett is the Pokemon that looks like like Dig Dug, like he's just like a
Oh,
glizzy.
yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, my God.
Anyway,
Adi,
man.
mate. Adi, behave.
But that's what I had told Drew, probably, dude, this dude's probably gonna win. And I was telling him that probably Eric Bazinian is gonna beat Jaime Munguia because, like, I felt a couple things. Jaime was doing a quick turnaround from the Canelo, and he's switching over to Eric Morales. I don't know about you guys, but he came through with the victory, 10th round knockout stoppage. But he looked horrible. He should never left Freddie Roach. That was the best thing that Jaime could have done to his career. Now, that being said, he still dogged it out like he did, and he fucking caught Eric Bazinian. And Eric Bazinian, bro, I'm not saying Hyman don't hit hard. I'm sure that he hits fucking hard. he kind of bitched out a little bit. He had it, bro. He could have won. Eric Bazinian, who he stopped against Jaime. You got to think about it like this: if you beat this dude Jaime, most likely your next fight is Canelo Alvarez. You got to clinch for dear life. You got to tackle Jaime Munguia. You got to take a knee before he unloads 30 hellacious punches, regain your senses, stand up like Timothy Bradley did with his Ruslan Provodnikov. Bro, you throw everything that you know. This dude, let Jaime wail on him for like 50 more punches. This dude's getting rocked. Boom, boom, boom. He stumbles. Fucking head is pounding, concussed. He's trying to regain his senses. And he made a conscious decision. If I stand up, this tough-ass Mexican and Jaime isn't going to stop. And he decided to give me a little tumble for theatrics. And the ref said, no mas. So close.
Bro, I seen that. When I seen that, I was like, bro, he probably gets fucked up by mobility, bro. Like, if this guy spars mobility on the daily, bro, like, dude, it just, how does that happen, bro? Like
yeah,
Bazinian has the tools to get the job done. He just don't know how to use them tools. Or you're right, he kind of did bitch show, I feel like. And
he needs stronger legs.
Listen, guys. Look, listen, guys. I know it's been a whole month or whatever. We're all over the place.
6 months.
Wait up. Hey, we haven't even addressed the whole. Yeah, we were talking about Kid Kansas. We talked about the biggest upset of this year, right? It's such an upset. It's such an upset
of this year.
Well, listen, it's very consequential.
Wait.
Oh, you deviated last time, Rick.
No.
Yeah. You deviate, bro. No.
Let's get away. Like, you didn't bet on Daniel Dubois. I know you didn't.
Yeah, okay, so you deviated. There you go. But let's ask Dream, because you're gonna go off tangent again. You're gonna make it about you and about why you didn't bet and about Basilian. I don't care about Basilian. I don't even think we were gonna talk about Munguia. But Dream, okay, I'm calling it the upset of the year. It's definitely the knockout of the year, right? Because it's a one-punch knockout, and it's not only the fact that it's a one-punch knockout. From a standout prospect, the top rank had just recently resigned, and it's at risk of now being cut. That's how consequential it is. We're talking about a one-punch knockout from a fighter that didn't have knockout power, and he had a winning record officially because he had 15 wins to 13 losses. This is why I say it's the upset of the year. Because let's say different to, let's say, Rafael Divino Espinosa versus Robeisy Ramírez. Robeisy Ramírez had already had 2 losses, or maybe 1 loss, and at the end of the day, Rafael Divino Espinosa was an undefeated fighter. In the case of Ricardo Fernandez from Spain, this guy came out of nowhere, and he probably derailed a career, may have exposed a fighter. But I don't think so, right? I don't think so, because I also wanted to ask you guys something, right?
What about the guy that knocked out O'Hara Davis, de Colombia or Ecuador?
No, he's not the upset of the year, because Ishmael Barroso, remember, he had done the same molly whopping on Rolly Romero, who actually fought this past weekend. So he's not that great of an upset. He's just a fighter that surprised us.
It has to be like what the standings were like. What was it for a belt? Was it for And I think no. See, and then that's why my fight of the upset of the year is actually Angelo Leo.
Beating
that was for the belt.
No, but I think I'm saying knockout and upset of the year, not fight of the year. Knockout and upset, right?
Well, that's the thing. Like, you get both with Angelo.
No, it's true, but it's the biggest upset of the year, because if you put $100 on the guy that knocked out Kid Kansas, you probably win like 5,000.
Right.
Yeah. Like that's so, like, from the odds, because the Angelo Leo, that fight was close with Ronaldo Lopez. Even O'Hara Davis versus Barroso, it was still like plus 700 for Barroso. So they were still giving him a chance. Except that, when it comes down to a guy 15 wins and 13 losses, you're not thinking this guy's gonna upset a 14-0 kid. It's not gonna happen. So yeah, this is the biggest upset of the year, even though there's not many implications. Like, Alan Garcia is just a prospect. So earlier you were talking about Speed, how I don't really know. It doesn't tell you in these WBC rankings how one goes to become a champion in the road. Yes, you do. You have the prospect phase, you have the contender phase, which means you eliminate another contender, and then you
Right.
get to the championship. So
Look,
Loma
do
didn't
we know?
go through
Look,
a
do we
prospect
know?
phase.
Of course, and homie Ricky, we know that. But what do you define as a prospect? Where does the prospect career start? Where do you find the
Well,
gatekeeper? Where does
it
that start?
depends,
See,
right?
that it's
So,
contextual. So
yeah,
there
correct,
is no
absolutely.
rules. So that's what I'm trying to get at. There
So,
is
for
no rhyme or
example,
reason.
Richard Torres and Emiliano and Abdullah Mason, they're in the prospect phase, even though they show you that they're much better than their competition and they're knocking them out relatively
I mean,
early. You one factor is age, right? So if they're really young, you look at the dude, that's a great fucking knockout. I forgot about that, Adi May. That's a big one too. But age is one of them. Lomachenko, when he turned pro, he was already like in his element at 24, 25 years old, right? Whereas opposed to Emiliano and Abdullah, they started pro at 17. So age is one of the things. Also experience, right? So I can be 35 years old, but only had 10 amateur fights. I can see, and then I go pro at the age of 35. You know, you can't really put them up there against a champion, even though I'm in my element of 35. Let's just say, for example, right?
Mhm.
Or a late bloomer. So it just everything happens,
yeah.
age, experience, and also just to give Lomachenko some slack. Um, their managers and their promoters, they know when they see these guys spar their other top fighters or champions. Damn, Lomachenko's already getting and beating up these champions that I have on my payroll. Oh, he's fucking ready. So they know. You and me don't know him as much because we only get to see, when they display their showcasing skills on fight night. But, Ruben Villa knows when he's sparring Devin Haney. Oh, Devin is gonna give Loma a fight. X, Y, and Z. But anyway, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Hey,
So
let me go
yeah,
back
yeah,
to the actual subject we're talking about.
Kid
Uh,
yeah.
Kansas.
yeah, Alan Garcia, right? So going
Yeah.
back to Alan Garcia, right? So this guy's resume, this is what I noticed, right? That dude Ricardo Fernandez, I see he's fought at 140 before, and this guy actually moved down to 130. This is a catchweight 137, but this is something that kind of popped out to me, right? Um, so he fought Mako Villagrana, which is Ruben Villa's,
Villagrana.
yeah, which is Ruben Villa's former opponent, who actually got knocked out by Ruben Villa as well. Who we know Ruben Villa is not a power puncher as well. You know, this guy moved up from 126 to 137. So this guy ended up going up to fight Alan Garcia, and he ended up getting knocked out in the third round. And then not only that, but there's this dude by Tarmis Ornales, and he's fighting. Is that a dude? What's his name? He fought. What's his name? He fought Cash Flow. That's another one, like a 122 pounder. And I'm like, okay, his resume starting to look a little shaky already. Like he was built up pretty fucking good. And this is what it is, right? In that fight, when he got knocked out, he throws with heavy intent, like bad intentions. You know, that chin is very suspect, bro. That's what that dude Ricardo actually exposed.
Exposed.
Uh,
Okay. Well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I guess you can say that.
he's bringing up all these smaller weights, and if I dig, I could probably find another example. But he's just, fighting, bringing dudes up to like 144, 140. It's like, bro, all these guys are fighting at one in the 120s, and you're getting knockouts. That you're doing great. It's just like, where's the actual names that have common opponents with guys, and
Yeah.
it just now if you keep digging, I was like, oh, okay, I see. And that dude Ricardo Fernandez, he's got fights at 140 and has wins at 140. So
Mhm,
there's the difference right there. Even though he lost that 13 times, I
mhm,
think the power's still there.
mhm.
So this dude exposed that fucking chin, bro. And this guy was actually, going the distance with this guy
So
still.
so let me ask you, Dream, because maybe you know this. Kid Kansas, was he fighting at 140, coming down to 137 in the catch weight, or is he a 135 fighter going up to 140? So he met him
He's a
halfway. So what was
tweener.
that?
He's a
Okay.
tweener, bro. Like
Okay.
they have him at 137. So
Hmm.
it's like they have a hard time gauging this guy.
Yeah.
They don't know what this guy is, at 135 pounder or because he's got to make one. In reality, it's 134 pounds.
Well, it's
That's
140.
no, the 135. I'm saying when you weigh in, it's 134. So it's either you're at 134 or at 139, and he's weighing
Yeah.
in at 137. So he's like a more of a 140 pounder, bro. So
Mhm,
once he actually fought a dude that has fights at 140, there you go. You get what you get.
mhm.
That would knockout, bro. I
Well,
mean, no one knew this was gonna happen. Everyone
yeah,
expected, and it even looked like Alan Garcia was winning the fight. You know,
he was. He was.
yeah, he was winning the fight.
And in fact, he
It was
wasn't gonna lose, in my opinion, Dream, unless and he only lost because he
so
turned southpaw. You see,
so I
he was showing off.
Yeah, I was Well, this is the thing. I didn't hear that. I was watching the live chat on TVV, and I also watched it on YouTube, and
Mhm.
it didn't look like he was doing that. It just looked like they were saying because that was the first fight I actually watched, um, so I didn't know what his habits were or anything like that. They were saying that this guy was they're like surprised how much was Alan Garcia was using his legs, and I was like, okay, because I don't know much about this guy, so they're explaining him to me, and they're saying, yeah, this guy's he looks good, like he's winning this fight, and then this guy started yelling, Ness, and he's like, oh shit, and then they're like, damn, they just signed him too. So I think this is barely like his third fight or fourth fight. I think he got signed after Ruben, so it might be like his second fight. No, it's his third fight because that
Yeah, it's his third.
Villagrana.
He had already had about 2 or 3 fights with Top Rank, and then they just
Right.
renewed him. But
Okay. Okay.
this is what I wanted to talk to you about. When it comes to Kid Kansas, right? First off, because I watched that fight. In fact, I made a video, a short video. Well, I uploaded a short reaction video by um by my homie, the angry, I don't know what he calls himself, screaming angry madman or whatever, the screaming madman or whatever. I uploaded one of his videos, and we were watching this fight together. And what happens is there's a couple of things that are going on that concerns me when it comes to Kid Kansas's career. One, he has not been given the opportunity to develop any ring IQ. And the way that I explain that is by saying that he was too obedient. He would defer too much to Miss Gloria Alvarado to tell him what punches to throw, right? So that everything that she was saying, he was doing. No, that sounds contradictory, right? Because that's what a trainer's job is, right? To tell you what punches to throw, what to do when she notices something that's taking place in the ring, right? But for the most part, you're supposed to keep that in the corner work. Like El Pachuco and I, we were engaging back. El Pachuco is a very knowledgeable individual. In fact, I thought that El Pachuco had once previously fought, or he was a trainer because the way that he was breaking down how he expects trainer work to do, corner talk to be. That's exactly the way that corner talk is, right? A trainer is supposed to give the instructions after she sees her fighter or he sees his fighter do good or bad in the ring. They go to the corner, they basically tell each other, this is what you got to work on, this is what you got to do, move this, move that, be cautious of this. But when you're in the fight, you're not supposed to micromanage every single punch that's being thrown, right? Because one, the opponent is obviously listening to that. And secondly, you don't trust what you're doing. Because if you're doing right, why is your manager so concerned in telling you every single thing you have to do, right? So you become an automaton, which is an individual that cannot think for himself, almost like a robot, right? That's what I feared about Kid Kansas. Now, for to in all forgiveness for the gentleman, and even to Miss Gloria Alvarado, there was a couple of things that the screaming madman pointed out when we were having this conversation. He said that he faults partially ESPN because they put the spotlight on Miss Alvarado. right? Miss Alvarado was taking up half of the screen because ESPN split the screen in order to showcase her giving these instructions. Now, why did they do that? Well, because they wanted to give some, equal rights opportunity to women. Is what some of my listeners in the channel have been responding to the short videos, and also because they wanted to give her an opportunity to explain that yes, she knows how to, one, control her fighter and make him obedient, which is standout because I know so many fighters that don't even listen to their corner. And secondly, that she knows her insider boxing, and she absolutely does. But I think the pressure of the camera being in her face, making her basically
Say stupid shit. Is that what
act.
you're saying?
No, she had to play to the camera, right? So I think ESPN should just leave them the hell alone next time. We don't have to have the split camera. But here's the other thing that also happened in this video. That video went viral, and a lot of the comments that they were responding to the short video were negative because they were saying that the woman, very much so, like Adi Medi says, he says this, right? This is what Adi Medi says. We don't even have to go too far. He says, now both of us are bleeding, bitch. That trainer cam was hilarious, bitch, turned into La Llorona, right? This my so what people were saying. There was a guy that I read a comment. He said, "Yeah, she's not supposed to be a trainer. Her job is to be in the kitchen." And I was like, "Yo, what are you talking about? She just led these two. She led Yokasa Vaya to an undisputed champ. She's a great trainer. As a person that
Whoa,
trains,
whoa,
and
whoa,
even
whoa!
you guys know,
Siniestra Strata beater, bro.
you know what I'm talking about. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is this: is the sport of boxing sexist?" Right? Can we not
Oh
give any
yeah,
credit
who
to?
said that?
But also this
I'm
though.
saying that. I'm saying
No, no, no,
Before
it's
you
no, no,
get to
no.
that question,
Who said the
members,
kitchen?
Alan Garcia is only
well, some
21 years old.
some
I
commenters,
heard
right?
He's
that.
only
I heard that
21
too.
years old, so put that in perspective. Like he's gonna make mistakes. He's 21 years old.
Hmm. And actually, the homie Ricky, you're absolutely right. Here's the thing, the irony, right? The irony that when Kid Kansas was doing everything that Miss Alvarado was saying to do, he was winning. In fact, I told you, he won every single second of every single round. And I don't think the other guy, Ricardo Fernandez, even landed one notable punch. It was only after he disregards Miss Alvarado, and he decides to do whatever he wanted, which is turn southpaw for no apparent reason, and then 5 seconds later he gets knocked out. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to say, if you guys want to be like Arimedi and be like some kind of misogynist, sexist individual, I get it. This is a male dominated sport. It has been for hundreds of years. The sport of boxing, when it comes to the women's participation of it, is a relatively novel thing. I get that. And it's going to be hard for us to accept that, right? But I can also say the facts, right? Some of the greatest fights in recent boxing history have been presented to us because of women. And Miss Gloria Alvarado is a very good trainer. I want you to go watch that fight. I want you to see how she has the respect and the obedience of her fighter, a male fighter, a young male fighter, by the way, right? Not like we had James Kirkland, you know, always taking crap from the boxing world because he was listening to a fighter like Ann Wolf. Remember that, ladies and gentlemen? He was always ridiculed for. She would bark at this guy orders, and people were like, "Man, this guy is swooped. They're probably in some kind of a sexual relationship. She must be like the dominant one. That's why he's always deferring to her." It's always been like that. But in the case of Miss Gloria Alvarado, they never, between her and Kid Kansas, there was never a lack of harmony. In fact, they work very good together. It was only when Kid Kansas, Alan Garcia, decides to turn southpaw for no apparent reason and disregarded her instructions, is when he got himself knocked out, and that's his fault. Miss Gloria Alvarado is a great trainer.
Yeah,
Kid
that's
Canvas, Mr. Vince Vargas has been hanging out with Arimedi. He said, Kid Canvas. Oh my God, come on now.
Yeah, dude. I think Kid Kansas is a good fighter, right? It's just look at Ruben, bro. Like he got exposed as well. You know, I mean, he didn't get it wasn't as bad as Alan Garcia, obviously, but um, Top Rank is known to develop their fighters, bro. Like they do the best out of all the networks or all the companies out there. They do the best at developing fighters. Like they truly test your fighters and they get the answers that they want to see, bro. Like and they don't care about about what fans say. They're gonna build their fighter and they're gonna make sure he has all the tools to become uh a world class name and a world class talent at the same time. They want the talent to match their name, so
Hmm.
um and to match their stardom,
True,
so
true.
it's just for them it's not all about views and all that. I feel like they truly want the cream of the crop,
Hmm.
and that's why they expedite some fighters to the top, like Abdullah Mason, because they're getting their answers, and they're like, wow, this guy's just knocking everyone out, and he's you know, they're testing him out, and that's how they want to get a better gauge at what level this guy's at, and he's just
Hmm.
and Allen just is a victim of that, so he got exposed. He's a great fighter. Great fighters have gotten exposed on Top Rank. It's a known thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah, true.
that's the thing. I think he's this just puts him in the doghouse. I think he's gonna have some tough fights now. Um,
Hmm.
and same thing with Ruben. He's gonna have some tough fights now. So I
And by
think
Ruben, of course, you're referring to
yeah,
Ruben
yeah,
Villa the
yeah,
fourth from Salinas, California, the local boxing legend and mentor
yeah.
and also an inspiration to a lot of
Whose
local
house
fighters.
lives down the street. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, it's one of those things. But he probably does or something. But uh, yeah, no, it's one of those things, bro. Like showing you a good example. Not Jaleel Hackett. Is it Jaleel Hackett? Hey, Rick, who's the guy that I showed you? That called out Amari Jones. He called him out, and he was a one.
Jaleel Hackett,
I think it was him. So yeah, bro.
heck
It's
of a
just
fight. That's a heck of a fight.
well, no, it's just well, Amari's a 168 pounder. I
Oh,
think.
then what am I talking about? Then this not Jaleel Hackett. Jaleel
Yeah,
Hackett is fighting at like what?
154
Oh, then
or
maybe yeah,
147, 147, and
yeah,
he moved
yeah.
up to 154. So he's gotten he's gotten into to some tough fights and almost lost. So
Hmm.
once they see a chink in the armor, they move you, um, they move you a certain way.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just one of those things. I think he might have just he lost, bro. I think he lost one of his fights. Um, yeah, the chink showed in his armor, and then the next fight he lost. I just don't know the names yeah, but I'm looking at that right now. But yeah, dude, it's just that's one of those guys, bro. I just remember him being in another tough fight, and I'm like, damn, they're moving him hard, bro. Like they're moving him tough. So I think they're gonna they want to see what you're about, bro, and they want to see. It wasn't Jalil Hackett. It wasn't him. It was
No,
somebody else. But yeah, no, it's just Jalil Hackett is somebody else. He's Tank's sparring partner. But
you
yeah,
know.
no,
Oh, that's right. Yep, that's right.
yeah,
Jaleel Hackett is good. Let me ask you
yeah,
something, because
he's actually good.
that was a perfect segue. You brought up the name of Abdullah Mason. Funny enough, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to give credit to Abdullah Mason, his fans, and the YouTube algorithm. In case you guys don't know, one of the worst short videos that have ever been uploaded to this channel by the Screaming Madman, or as Eddie Meddy likes to say, Screaming Madman Batman. That guy right there, he uploaded his worst video, in my opinion. Uh, it's of Abdullah Mason. And in that video, the Screaming Madman, oh, he's doing is just like I can't remember. It's almost like he's like to me. It sounds almost like he's like sort of like masturbating because he's just like because he's speechless, right? But so the thing is, he said name it speechless. He says that he was left speechless, and he doesn't really say anything at the end. I think at the end he only says like, "That's Abdullah Mason, guys. That guy's scary." I think that's what he says, right? And anyways, it's Abdullah Mason for a whole minute, just doing everything he wants against his opponent. I think his name was Ronald Ron from I think the Dominican Republic, and he's beating up and just just doing everything he wants against his fighter, and the screaming madman is just like uh uh, and he says that he was left speechless. Now that video is always on top of all the views. Consistently every week it gets 2 to 3 thousand views. By the end of the month, it's 8 to 10 thousand. It's continuously going. That video is almost 6 months old. Even though we upload new content all the time, nothing beats that video. And I've had a lot of subscribers hop onto that because of it. Now, a lot of those subscribers are Black, African American, so I appreciate my African American community. Right, we know that. In fact, Chicanos can't really be a thing without the influence of the African American. So there's your props right there, guys. We appreciate you all. But Abdullah Mason has a fan base, and for whatever reason or another, YouTube is allowing it to grow, and the algorithm is working on that video, which, in my opinion, is the worst. Now, because you brought up Abdullah Mason, who, in my opinion, and in the opinion of the homie Ricky, he looks like the next Terrence Bud Crawford. My question to you, Dream, this past weekend, we had an opportunity to see Emiliano, el General, or el Capitan, or whatever, Subcomandante, or whatever, Vargas, the son of the Chicano Mexican American legend Fernando Vargas from East Los Angeles, right? He fought a very tough, rugged Irishman by the name of I forget his first name, but his last name was Friars. The guy came to win. They interviewed him. He said, "Why are you doing this? You've never fought in at this high of a level. You've never fought in the USSF once for ESPN. Why are you doing this?" And he did shed some tears. He goes, "I look at my children, I look at my wife, and I tell him, Daddy doesn't know what else to do." He goes, "If I win this fight, it opens up so many doors. I need to win this fight." An emotional moment from Friars. And then he faces Emiliano Vargas and he gets stopped, right? We can all dream. Oh, okay. So he's from Oxnard. Orale. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. So, and then the same fight night, we saw my favorite prospect, Steven Navarro from Inglewood, California, right? This guy, I named him Lo Mexchenko because he fights a lot like Lomachenko. He fights a lot like Bam Rodriguez. He has power. He has speed. He has angles. He has footwork. He has defense. He has punch selection. He has timing. This guy has so many things, Dream, that not everybody seems to have. My question to you, in case you haven't seen him, is even if you have, who is your favorite prospect right now? Is it Abdullah Mason? Is it Emiliano Vargas? Is it Steven Navarro? You tell me.
God, man. Honestly, that's a good question. I gotta think kind of hard for this one. Uh, but for me, um, yeah, for me, man, it has to be Abdullah Mason. Uh, it's just like there's certain fighters that are just already at that level, and you said prospect. and that's really the first like prospect like that I think of, because you got dudes like you have dudes like Richard Torres that just we all know that there's like a chink in his armor, and he's gonna have trouble at a certain level, and they're just develop taking their time and developing him, and so we don't get to see like the best of him, see him really get tested. Abdul is really the only one that's moving like he is right now. Um, so yeah, there's I just gotta think of one, but there's like I think that's like someone I'm willing to say that stand on like one what yeah, this guy is the best prospect that I can think of, because I mean Steven Navarro Navarro, he just got started. We don't know what level he's at yet. There's only two fights that we've seen him in that have gone past 3 rounds, because I've seen him in the amateurs plenty of times. 3 times. I've seen him 3 times. Trying to watch certain fights and on USA Boxing, and he was always there. He's always at that level, and yeah, bro. So he's a good fighter. It's just I gotta see more of him before I start running with it. Because he also got some L's in the amateur days too. His last amateur bout he lost to Jordan Fuentes, and Jordan Fuentes is the first dude I think of is Cashflow Diaz. He's really got that Cashflow Diaz esque style, bro. And if you look at Cashflow Diaz, he just moved down to 118, I believe. And and I think this is where he's gonna start to shine, you know. So yeah, it's just I guess you could Cashflow Diaz is another guy. But I'm still leaning on towards Abdullah Mason. Um, it's just Floyd Diaz needs to show me what he's got at 118. I know he's gonna be better, but I don't know how the speed is gonna affect him, so or how if he's gonna get winded or what. But dude, I would say Abdullah Mason for sure. Let me see, Bruce Carrington, but nah, I'm not willing to go with that yet. Just uh, Bruce Carrington is a good solid fighter, but Abdullah Mason has showed me multiple ways he's gotten dudes out of the ring, and he's also gotten dudes out of the ring that good fighters haven't been weren't able to do. So that holds a lot of value right there, and that's why he's being expedited, bro, to to like the main events or to the main card, you know. So um I think he should be world champion by 2026. 2020 next year he's gonna you know he's gonna get in position. I feel like because he's fought I think like 3 or 4 times, so they're moving him pretty good. Um, but yeah, and what's his name? Vargas. I like Vargas as well. It's just I like Vargas as well. But yeah, I like Vargas as well, bro. That's a good fight. And he moved up to 140. Okay, that's the thing. That's the thing right there. Abdullah Mason has been at this weight for a minute. He stayed at 135. Um, for some reason he moved up to 140. Now Vargas got to show me what he's got at 140. And he's got to climb a new ladder. He was climbing up the 135 ladder, got off the ladder and said, I'm gonna get on a new ladder. So now it's like, okay, got to start over in a sense. So that's the thing with him. That's the thing with him. I don't know why he did that though. So and that's one of those things where top rank, top rank is just really good at developing their fighters, bro. Like they're in the back, like they're getting like you're not seeing them fight, and they're not to you they're not active, but in reality, in the back behind the scenes, bro, they're doing their tests and they're doing quizzes on these guys, and they want to see they're trying to gauge certain things. They got more information than we do as far as who these fighters are inside the ring, and there's reasons why these things happen, and we can assume all this, but um, I don't see why they would move Vargas the way they did. Like I seen no problem in the way he fights
At 135, right?
at 135. Yeah, so
Yeah.
maybe it's
And I
something
didn't
that
even
they
see the
changed.
difference in 135 for Abdullah Mason.
What was that? Well, he didn't move up. He stayed at
Oh, he
he's at
didn't.
no, he's at
Oh, okay.
135.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant that Abdullah also moved up, and I was like,
No,
"Why? That's news to me." Because to tell you the truth,
uh,
when I look at Abdullah Mason, right, he said that he wants to be a champion a year and a half. Now that is a very. I think he may have said two, but I actually do think that he could become a champion in a year if he was to fight somebody like that Russian guy. I mean that
yeah,
Ukrainian guy, Berenchik, right? Ivan
yeah.
Berenchik.
Well, he needs to
He-
get common opponents with some of these contenders, and even the next guy that he fought, he's
Mhm.
he lost to Charlie Suarez, who fought, who just getting knockout. So maybe they're trying to set that one up. You know, it's just
Mhm.
what it is with me is just I think they mentioned something about him not fighting in 10 rounders, but I mean, dude, this is his one, two, three, his fifth. He's gonna fight in November of the 8th of November, bro. That'll
Yeah,
be
yeah.
that'll be his fifth fight of the year.
Abdullah,
So
right?
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like
He's
honestly,
prolific. He's
you
definitely
can
prolific.
yeah, you can complain about Ness as far as because he's on social on TBV he's saying that why haven't they given him more rounds? But it's just like I think he said that like in June and he's fought twice since then. So it's like honestly he's consistent. That's all that matters. He's active as fuck and he's next year. Yeah, I mean I don't see why not they would move him to 10 rounders, you know. Um, so it's just one of those things, bro. Like where he's capable of doing these 12 rounders, but they're
Mhm.
developing him. They're trying to create a highlight reel for this guy, you know. And maybe they don't have the funds just yet. They want to say, hey, can you fight twice? They'll probably tell him, can you fight three more times this year? That's pretty much saying, hey, can you knock all these guys out while I get the funds right for next year's world title belts for you? You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
that's just how it is. Like that, it's a
Mhm.
money thing, and it's like if you can stay active and win for these managers, then they're gonna
Mhm.
give you what you want. I think by next year, you should be in position or shit. You know, if he takes advantage of a situation like how Ruben um fought Navarrete, like a last minute replacement type of thing, then
Mhm.
take then that I can see a case like that. But
Yeah,
but
and another fighter that's being very prolific, very active is again Steven Navarro. If I'm not mistaken, he's already fought because he remember he started his career this year as a pro
it's still early
after
though.
after you mentioned having lost to his last amateur fight to Jordan Fuentes, another very standout fighter, right? And in fact, we had a personal dealing with Jordan. He came down to Salinas to fight one of I don't remember if he yeah, I think he was one of our fighters. Um he pieced him apart. He bled him up. It was like very bad. Um we won't get into the details of that, but he beat up that guy. Um and it was just one of those things where somebody may have overestimated the ability of our local fighter versus not really doing their due diligence to look into the career and the performance of that opponent fighter. Hey, sometimes those things happen, right? But long story short, our local fighter lost to Jordan, he's pretty local actually. He's in the Central Coast, um, but Jordan Fuentes gave Steven Navarro his last fight, and it was a loss as an amateur, and they both went pro afterwards. Now, in my opinion, Steven Navarro beat Jordan Fuentes. I think he won 2 rounds. Jordan Fuentes was obviously a very good fighter, but I still think Steven Navarro looked way better, much more aggressive, had the other guy in the back foot. Well, it's not necessary that he's on the back foot. Jordan can stay in the pocket, but he leans a little. He has a little bit of a lean, and he's shorter, and he can get down. He's very responsible defensively, and he also has good punch and speed, right? Nonetheless, Steven Navarro, in my opinion, won 2 rounds cleanly. Well, long story short, Steven Navarro had an opportunity to sign with Golden Boy or Top Rank, and they passed on him initially. And Eddie Hearn was the very first guy who gave him an opportunity to fight, and he stood out. He dominated his opponent. It was, I think, a 4 rounder. He dominated him, and I think he stopped him in the first. He had a second outing. It was a tough one, but he won all 4 rounds in that one, if I'm not mistaken. Third round, he also stopped his opponent again by overwhelming him by the angles, the power, the speed, and everything. And this weekend, man, he utterly embarrassed his opponent. He did everything. He did
Yeah.
everything to that guy. The most incredible prospect that I can think. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen his fight, in fact, all you have to do is look at the short that the Screaming Madman made. Right, this guy is doing everything to this guy. I don't see many prospects destroying and bleeding and just overwhelming their fighters like that. Not Abdullah Mason, not Carmel Mutton. Remember, Carmel Mutton,
What
he
are you
had a
talking about?
very remember Carmel Mutton had a very tough outing versus a Mexican guy, right? And Steven Navarro has never had a tough fight. Um, in the case of Abdullah Mason, maybe they're moving him a little faster and against better competition than all of these other guys. But he has also been in some very good fights where he's dominated. He's always looked better, but it's not like he's just destroyed him in the first 2, 3 rounds, right? He's always in some good fights because he's probably fighting better competition. Fernando Vargas, similarly, has had some, you know, standout performances, and he has looked very dominant. So it's really between him and Abdullah Mason on who looks like the readiest, and most assured champion out there. But in my opinion, I don't see much difference between Steven Navarro and Bam Rodriguez, Steven Navarro, and Lomachenko. The skills are there.
Um,
The whole package is there. He just hasn't fought for a belt yet.
so another prospect that hasn't fought yet, he's gonna make his pro debut this year. Um, I'm not sure which card it is though, to be honest, but look out for his name.
Mm.
Because I think they're gonna announce a fight pretty soon, but um I forget who, but so Matchroom. Matchroom just signed. Guess who they just signed? Matchroom.
What weight division?
Good question. I think probably like the same weight class as Navarro.
Oh, so 115.
Mm-hmm.
Goodness. Wait, it's because in that division, those weights are so dangerous, man. Like,
Yeah, I know.
wow.
Okay, I'll
Um,
tell you then. I'll tell you.
okay.
Zaquin Moses.
Who?
You know who Zaquin Moses is? No?
The last name sounds familiar, but not the first part. Who's that?
Zaquin Moses. So, Zaquin Moses, this man, this man, this 17-year-old man. No, I'm just kidding. I think he's like 18 now. But this dude beat Carmel Moten in his last, not in his last fight, but and yeah, and I think it was his last fight. And I'm not sure why he didn't go to the Olympics, to be honest, but he beat him in the Olympic trials. So he beat this guy, and it was a big fight, bro. Like the TBV even had a live fight chat, and it's like an amateur shit, on some amateur stuff. So, um, and this Steven Navarro actually beat him too. Um, but this guy freaking got a lot of credit for beating Carmel Moen, and if you to remind you, Matchroom or if it, yeah, Matchroom signed Shakur Stevenson. So that's his cousin. That's Shakur's cousin, and it wasn't because it was his cousin. It's because he's a good fighter, and he's like 10-time national champ. A lot of these guys are got multiple national champs because one, it's so much money to go to every single national championship, even though you're qualified for it. It's just expensive, so you can really just do like one or two. I think you're only qualified to go to two a year. You can't go more than that. So you can only become a national champ twice, even though they have like four or five nationals every year. Um, so that's why you hear a lot of guys saying, "Oh, I was a national champ. I was a national champ." Well, yeah, they gave out five of those a year, you know. So,
But
um,
it's still a tournament, bro. I mean, it's
oh no, I'm not saying it was a
quite
bad thing.
difficult.
I'm just saying, not everyone this guy Zaquin Moses has been fighting at a high level for a very long time and he has wins over some professional fighters already, you know, and he fights, he spars world championship um at a world championship level. So um this guy is good, bro. Zaquin Moses, don't he's making his pro debut sometime this year. He just got signed by Matchroom. So um I was like, oof, I like that. I like that. And see what it this is the thing. Steven Navarro, Jordan Fuentes, uh Jordan Fuentes, Zaquin Moses, and Carmel Moten. Those guys are all in different promotions right now. They all got snagged up. They're all like kind of near the same weight class, except Steven Navarro. I think he's like 115.
Yeah.
Saquon's a 115 pounder. I don't. That's still to be determined. I don't know what weight class he's gonna be in. I haven't heard yet. I just know he's a really good fighter, bro. Like he's really really good. He could be better than Carmel, but
Wow.
we gotta see who
Yeah.
comes out with more chinks on their armor, when they're like 10 fights down, so and they're all being pushed by different promoters. So they're gonna one's gonna look good, obviously, and one's gonna look mediocre because of how they're being moved, and then eventually the cream will rise to the top, and we're gonna get to see
Yeah.
one of those guys that I just named, the four guys that Zaquin Moses, Carmel, Jordan Fuentes, Steven Navarro. One of those guys we're gonna be talking about. Like, damn, this guy's a hard dude to beat.
You
You know?
know,
Yeah,
Dream, um this is a very good question that El Pachuco just asked, mostly to you, because you know what, El Pachuco, I have not uh, taken a fighter to from amateurs to pro yet. My son, who just turned 18, if I'm not mistaken, we are still trying to give him, because he started quite late in this fighting career. I think it was 16 and a half. And that's pretty late, especially with some of the people that we know locally that have been fighting for many, many more years. His learning curve, in my opinion, is very short, so he learns very quickly. But there is nothing like experience, right? And but we haven't turned him pro yet. We're thinking maybe at 20, so like about a year and a half or so. But El Pachuco asks, is taking a boxer from amateur to professional expensive? I didn't think about it until
yeah,
Drew mentioned it right now.
yeah. It is. So so you can do multiple things, right? You have to pay for your opponents when you're first starting out. So you're like building your fight, and it takes a couple $1,000s to get that together, like maybe like one or two, but you have to pay for an opponent, and then pretty much like that's why you get promoters and shit. So that's why you go, and that's why some fighters they go to Mex because they can get 20 fights for a lot cheaper. Except Devin actually ruined that economy a little bit because that's what he did, so it's not as cheap as you think anymore. But yeah, you gotta pay for your opponents, and not only that, you pay for the rounds. So like that's why it's more expensive every round you put on. It depends on what state, obviously, because they have their own fees and all that. But you have to pay for your opponent and then pay for the number of rounds that you're going to be fighting in. So that's why, um, like, that says a lot. If a fighter, gets a lot of rounds, in, like, and that means that they have a lot of backing, and they can, and they're comfortable putting up that type of money, for their prospect, you know. So that's why, like, I think Andy Cruz is like already at the 10 round level. So it's just one of those things where you have to have the right, backing, I guess, and, you get the rounds in. I mean, a lot of guys are capable of going. Obviously, if Steven Navarro can, I'm pretty sure he can fight 10 rounds. You know, it's just he needs the backing. I mean, he doesn't need anything, but you also want to, you know, protect your, as a promoter manager. I think the manager does it, or it depends. Every fighter's constructed, has a, has structured is structured differently as far as who their managers are and promoters. But, um yeah, they got to pay for that, bro. Every round costs money.
Mhm.
So,
And
um
furthermore, he's asking, do you mean sparring partners? Because I think what he
no,
mean, what he's trying. No, he obviously that's a whole different thing, right? Like you
yeah,
have to
well, you got to
expend
pay for
so much
sparring.
money. Yeah, you
You
have to
so
pay for these camps at Pachuco. Like
for
for example,
example for
yeah, tell
example,
him.
my uncle, got hit up by, Max Garcia, who is Ruben Villa's, trainer. My uncle would, come down here and stay at my house, and he would get paid by the round. Like, they wouldn't put money in his. Here's $20 for this round. Here's 20. Like, they just, it was like a, like 100. I forget how much money it was, but yeah, they paid him, for the trip and all that, and they didn't need to pay for housing because, that he was at my house, and, it was more like a little vacation while he got work, and, yeah, bro. So that's like, they you obviously got to pay for sparring if you want to fight at a certain level, bro. Like, you're gonna have to pay for good ass sparring, and uh and that's why if you call fighters out, it's like, bro, like, I'm supposed to be getting paid for that. I'm gonna have to fuck you up now, type of thing. I don't know. It's just, that's why they feel disrespected sometimes, that you want to spar and you want to get work in, and I don't know. It's just, there's just levels, bro. Like, you want to pay for the right type of sparring partners. Some fighters actually make careers out of sparring because they know how to turn it up, and they know how to, um like, have good defense, and continue to spar, because you need to have defense, man. Like, this is like not a game. You're gonna lose senses, and you're gonna lose something, man, if you keep doing it. um
Yeah, but I think the reason why Pachuco is asking if obviously it's correct, right? Like sparring partners, you have to pay them, right?
yeah,
Because let's say that you want to fight somebody at Pachuco, like like when Andy Ruiz fought Anthony Joshua at the last, I think it was the last minute uh replacement, right? I think maybe he had about less than 3 weeks to fight that fighter, because Baby Miller, Big Baby Miller, Big Baby Miller, he ended up getting caught with all these PEDs, right? Um, AJ, he hired this fighter by the name of Joey DeWechko, who ended up actually getting stopped this weekend by Tulare, the city of Tulare's fighter Richard Torres Jr. He ended up being stopped by him. Anthony Joshua flew that guy over there to Europe or wherever, actually in New York because they were training over there. Um, he flew him over there because Joey DeWechko had very similar dimensions to Andy
Davenko.
Ruiz. Huh?
Joey Davenko.
Oh yeah, the WSV, huh, right? So the Vaco, he hired them because they had similar dimensions, about the same height, the same type of build, the same type of speed. And actually Joey is a part-time trainer, so he was like, okay, I get a trainer that knows what he's doing. He looks a lot like my opponent. I'm gonna prepare him. And remember, it is rumored that Joey DeBechko or DeJaco, he ended up knocking out Anthony Joshua. And that's the reason why he was already chinny when he fought Andy Ruiz. But those are rumors. Even Joey has never substantiated them. But there was other people there, and in those sparring sessions that do say it happened. So what I'm trying to get at is AJ flew that guy over there to New York, or he was already from around that region to spar. He paid him for his time, and you still sometimes have to pay for the fights that you're going to take to get your record up, right? And the reason why a lot of people sign with managers is because managers may have already a fund, a reserve of monies that they can draw from there to sponsor your fight. But the moment comes when you make it, they're going to ask for their cut. Recall, these guys, when you get a manager, they really invest in you at those moments when you're nobody, when you're climbing up the ranks, when you're needing to pay for a nutritionist, or some kind of a dietitian, and you can't afford it. But these guys believe in you, and they spend the money, and they pay for those, and they pay for your housing, and they pay for your travels so that you can go down south to Oxnard to train with Robert Garcia and his fighters. They front all of that money, but the day comes when you make a big money, the cash from there, right? And they want to continue cashing from you. So it's very hard for your first manager to ever let you go. But yes, you do have to pay for your travels. You do have to pay for those sanctioning fees, because you're the one asking for the fight, and you're gonna ask for the people. So yeah, it's a big, big investment, right, Dream, to really go pro
Yeah.
and to bet on yourself.
Well, yeah, and then so like I can go pro, right? And I can show that I'm a decent fighter, and then somebody else can look at me and say, "Damn, I think you're a good opponent uh for my prospect." You
Hmm.
know, like that only has to do with, with my resume, literally no fights, nothing like that. So it's like they that's how you build fighters, man. They want to make a highlight reel, and you get that with the inexperienced fighters or with the journeyman that's willing to step in there. And every situation is different, bro. Like sometimes fighters don't make weight, then you get the backup guy in there. So these guys don't make nothing, bro. Like I think literally that's like like I want to like call my uncle like a journeyman, but my uncle was that fighter, bro. Like I think he got paid like 2,500, 2K, to make weight and be a solid fighter, bro. Like he didn't get knocked out. He's never gotten knocked out, and he's been in there with some common opponents uh Charlo, Jamel Charlo. He's got and that's pretty much it. I think Gallo Negro from Delano, who actually fought out of Salinas. He sparred him a lot, and he's just a good, solid, like durable fighter. So or he was. I mean, so just me being a durable fighter, they want to see if you're knockoutable. Like if some guys can make a highlight reel out of you, and that's why going the distance holds value. If I can
Yeah.
continue to go the distance with these guys, I'm gonna be in there with an Olympian for eventually, and I'm gonna fuck around and be in there with an Olympian and then give him a tough fight, and that's
And you
it.
might even win.
And might even win and then be a fucking underdog story. So
Yeah,
that's really
incredible.
what and
Exactly.
and sometimes that's rare, right? It does happen. It has happened before, but
We live
it's
for those moments.
yeah, that's why boxing is so great because it creates opportunity like that. You fought for that
Yeah.
opportunity, but it's just one of those things where like you gotta find opponents. If you're a good fighter and you're a highly touted fighter, you're going to find yourself you're gonna find yourself buying your opponents pretty much up until there's something to fight for. If there's a belt on the line, we got something to fight for because the revenue that that belt gives out is worth fighting for. You know,
Hmm.
um, so that's why I think it's like it's not even like uh equivalent, bro. Like I mean, you fight for a world title belt about it depends what weight class, right? And yeah, so that's all. It all depends on that. Just because you're a world champion doesn't mean you're a millionaire.
Nope.
But if you're a 126 pounder and you're gonna be and you're a WBC champ and you plan on defending it, you're you're like two fights away from being a millionaire. So
Yeah.
so it just
And
depends, man.
so is the WBC. Hey, Dream.
Yeah,
So we've been we've addressed for the most part every single topic, and we drifted on some other stuff so that we were able to talk about other current affairs. But let's get down to brass tacks, and let's see if we can wrap this one up pretty short. We've been on 2.5 hours putting these guys' ears. Hopefully, we still have them. But one of the things I wanted to talk about, right besides AJ. El Pachuco says, man, like that, most worthy endeavors, it's a lot easier said than done. A lot of boxing fans have no idea about the tough road that boxers travel. Exactly, El Pachuco, exactly. And you know what? I'll tell you the honest truth. Look, I realized that it almost doesn't make sense for me as a fight fan to hate a boxer, right? But don't get me wrong. There was moments, like for example, as a Chicano Mexican American, I we have a culture is the way that I like to think of it, that we never back down, no nos rajamos, we never back down, we never chicken out, right? uh we never quit, we continue going forward. We have that's just the way that I've always expected our people to be. So I've always looked up to fighters and admired the fighters that had those same commonalities. And of course, you first look towards the people that look like you. So some of my heroes, of course, uh, Juan Manuel Marquez, Julio Cesar Chavez, Oscar de la Hoya. We had Baby Bull Diaz, Maromero Pais. And then people that looked different or acted different or had different cultural expressions, like Puerto Ricans, Hector Macho Camacho, you know, uh, all of those guys, I disliked them because they were different. You can tell, not only for the way that they fought, but the way that they spoke with a little confidence, bravado, a little flashiness that wasn't too typical of most Mexican fighters. Of course, except for Emma Romero, because that guy was like literally a clown, right? But but at the end
but
of the
what?
day,
Okay.
when I realized that we were all fighting the same way, and that we had good people, good fighters, bad fighters, that we were all going through the same travails and hardships, that's when I learned, why do I dislike Puerto Rican fighters? Why does it make sense to dislike Mayweather? Why do I have to like Canelo? Right? It didn't make sense why I should like some fighters over others until it became a personal thing, until my own children started to fight, my own siblings, my own friends started to fight. And then we knew, and I actually got into fights myself. After the fight, we shook hands and we became friends. I respected my opponent for beating me or getting beat by me. And from there, I just matured and I understood it's not about liking people because they look like you, it's about liking people because they are like you, not the differences. And yeah, when we looked at that, then that's when I started to first attain that respect, that appreciation for our fighters. And that's when I started to analyze more about what else does it take to become a fighter. And once you consider everything, man, oh man, El Pachuco, it is a very hard life. So it's hard for me now to allow people to disrespect fighters, especially if they've never been there, because it doesn't make sense otherwise. Everything that Dream just explained, imagine you working your 9 to 5 to go to Tijuana, which would mean you would have to travel. You go to Mexicali, you whatever. You travel, you spend money to place yourself in hotels and pay a fighter $2,000, $3,000 in hopes that you will come out triumphant at the end.
Yeah, dude, it just feels like you're hoping half the time,
It
And
is a sport of hope. And then worse than Pachuco. Imagine if you don't self fund and you have a manager. Now you have the pressure of making him money to pay back. And what if your manager is somebody like Jay Prince? Wow. You tell
yeah,
me, do you want to have a Jay Prince, right? A 50 Cent as your manager, right? You don't want to have that. You might end up, man, I don't even want to say it, right? Um, but yeah. So going back to that, to wrap up another very important thing, I want to ask everybody, and I want to ask you, Dream. Canelo, Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan just fought 2 weeks ago. He fought against the most undeserving to many, the most inexperienced fighter. That's a fact. That Canelo has faced, and who knows how long, right? A fighter that he never fought a champion. He had no former champions in his record, and he's about to walk in there with one of the greatest living legends. I think a shoe in Hall of Famer, and you can argue with whoever you want. You're not gonna argue with me. I think one of, if not the greatest Mexican fighter that will ever live when all is said and done. Right, and that's saying a lot.
yeah,
Edward Berlanga, a person that people didn't even accredit as a true Puerto Rican, that he said this fight will not live up to the hype because he's not a true Puerto Rican. You put a real Puerto Rican and a real Mexican, they go to war. This guy not only handled himself, he gave heck back to Santos Alvarez Barragan. When Canelo cheap shotted him, he cheap shotted him. When Canelo pushed him back, he pushed him back. When Canelo tried to grapple him, he grappled him. When Canelo would throw a punch, he would throw a punch, right? But at the end of the day, the better man won, the more experienced individual won, a guy that has 3 times the fight experience, way better names in his record. He beat a guy that nobody gave any shots to, a 1-7 or 1-10 or who knows what underdog. Let me ask you something. The fact that Canelo couldn't take this guy out, right? Even though he's fought men like Caleb Plant, actual reputable champions like BJ Saunders, Bivol, weathered those storms. Somebody like the gorilla. What's his name? The guy who he packed over there, Mexico City, and all of those fighters, he wasn't able to stop an Edward Berlanga, a New Yorican. Let me ask you something, Dream. One, is Edward Berlanga just so good and we completely ignored it because we just didn't see it in him because he never did anything spectacular? Or is Canelo washed?
no, I think I have this crazy analogy, right? I think
Hmm.
it's crazy, man. It's pretty fucking crazy. But I think Canelo's doing it on purpose. I think he wants to make it seem like, hey, I am at this level. I am on the down trend. Uh, I, I just think he knows these guys are easy fights, and he doesn't want to make it seem like he's bullying these guys. Like I still think he could have put him away. You know why? So so that left hook that he landed on Berlanga, he stopped throwing it. He stopped throwing it once he knocked him down. Why is that? That doesn't make sense. You're such a smart fighter. Why do you do this? So to me, it's suspicious. Um, tell me, I just feel that way. That's how I feel. Like you're too smart to not throw it again and time him up. uh, like there's no excuse. Like there is an excuse. You won, but it's like, and he's strong, but you took it, and maybe I think he proved that he actually punches harder than Berlanga. I mean, Mungia. You know, um, because he didn't say anything about his power. He didn't say, "Nah, I didn't feel him," or "They were soft." He didn't say anything like that. Jaime, he did. Jaime, he said, "I didn't feel that shit," and he was straight up about it. So, there is that. But why do you stop throwing that left hook? You know. So that's just me, man. I think he's
You think because
it's all about
Berlanga's
effort,
jab
bro.
was all up in his face?
It wasn't that great of a jab, bro. He's faced better jabs before, way better jabs,
Yeah,
just
but I mean, this guy
way
was a
better
young
jabs.
fighter, right? This
Oh,
guy is much younger fighter than Callum Smith, BJ Saunders, all of those cats. He's younger than even Dimitri Bivol, right? This guy is a young cat who obviously looked about 200 pounds.
yeah,
Uh,
no, he was big. He was
yeah,
big. It's just he wasn't doing the same mistakes that he usually does. Like he definitely cleaned up his act. Uh, but this is the first time you actually cleaned it up. We want to see you clean it up before this Canelo fight. Build build habits of not doing certain things. It's like you just stop doing the habits for one fight. We want to see it in all of your fights. So it's like what now that you're not making all this money, you're not gonna try that hard, so it's a mentality thing. And you just like that was his best performance by far. Like how do you do this good against a Canelo but get knocked down by a fucking prospect that has like what, 5 losses? Steve Rolls. I'm not sure what his record was at the time, but he got knocked down by him. So it's like, dude, how does that happen? And
but that's the reason
you
why
do
this is
but you
the
do so
reason why
good
this
against
is so
Canelo.
impressive. Yeah, but that's why he's so impressive to me because he didn't seem to display this ring IQ. See, when the fight was building up, he kept talking about the ring IQ, the ring IQ. Canelo has not seen this type, and we're like, that don't make sense, bud. You have less than 20 fights, or whatever, maybe 21 or whatever. You're talking about having more ring IQ than Triple G, than
Mhm.
Bevo, than Plant, Smith, Ryder. You really think you have it like that? And guess what? He actually looked like he had great ring IQ, right? He knew when to counter, he knew how to survive, he knew how to take a punch, he knew how to jab, he knew when to circle out, he knew when to push forward, he knew when to he was hurt and how to respond coming back. He showed so much development considering his last fight. Now I ask you this. Do you even remember Edgar Berlanga's last fight? I don't. I don't know who he fought.
I do. He
Who?
fought McCormick, uh, Patrick McCormick.
Oh,
He was
okay,
an
yeah.
undefeated. He was an undefeated fighter, and he was doing great against fucking
Mm-hmm.
doing great against him. He was winning um some rounds. Maybe it was a
Mm-hmm.
tie, a draw at the time, but he ended up knocking him out. Not knocking him out, but um technical knockout. You know, he didn't put him out though. He didn't put him to sleep. I think they stopped it early. I think he could
Mm-hmm.
have won that fight. So uh, it's just one of those things, bro. I think one of the Canelo's just doing what he wants.
Yeah.
He
So
loves
so
easy fights. He loves easy fights, bro. Like it's like me waking up uh for because some of my jobs are because I get on roofs every day, bro. I get so happy when I see for a 1 story job. It's kind of like that with him. He loves easy fights. It makes him loose. It makes
whoa, whoa,
him
whoa,
not
whoa, whoa.
tense.
Canelo loves easy fights.
Telling you, bro.
Okay,
Telling
okay, okay. Well, that's a very controversial thing to say, right?
it
Because
is.
look, okay, look, okay. I think El
Because how do these
Pachuco.
things happen?
I,
This puzzle isn't matching. Like how does how do you go the distance with Berlanga?
because
You know,
here's the thing, though. You're trying to say,
I can't
to
wrap my
some
head around
extent,
it.
you're trying to say that. Well, we're going to talk about it. We're
It's
trying.
fishy.
You're trying to say that Canelo Alvarez is putting up a front. He's
Yeah,
acting. He's acting like these are tough fights. Like he doesn't have it in him. He's already a little long in the tooth. But yet these are easy fights. Do you fight? Do you understand the contradiction that the boxing world would think you're taking on easy fights, and then you still put on the act to seem like like those aren't actually easy fights in the first place, and that you're
they're
long in the tooth?
marketable.
How does it benefit you to lose the respect of the boxing world, to one, have the world think that you're taking easy touches, and two, not beat those easy touches? It doesn't look good on you. In fact, it's going to bring you up to so much criticism. What would be the outcome for that? What benefit does Canelo get by making himself look weaker instead of greater? Like
What credit?
Naoya Inoue doesn't do that. Crawford
What,
doesn't go out there to put
what
up a
credit?
front. Yeah, what kind of credit? Because I mean, Naoya Inoue,
He
Terence
doesn't care about
Crawford.
credit. He cares about credit. No, I'm just kidding. He
Oh
cares
yeah,
about money.
yeah. But what I'm saying is, okay,
He cares
so
about
he's
house
gonna make
mortgages.
he's gonna make more money by looking bad.
Less risk, more reward. That's what it is. Why not? You seen the numbers Berlanga made. Like Berlanga got a following, bro. Canelo knows that. He's seen that.
Whoa, 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 whoa! You're saying that Berlanga had a following? When did he? When did he have a following? When was that moment that you knew he had a following? When his own Puerto Rican people booed him in MSG in New York? Like
No,
when did he
no.
give you the impression that he had a fat following?
When he sold out multiple arenas, bro. Like he
Remember the last one they booed him in? It was packed full of Puerto Ricans in New York. They
boom, you
booed
just
him,
said it. You said packed. It was packed. That
but they
doesn't
booed him.
it doesn't matter.
That's
The
20.
currency,
That's like 15,000
the
people booing him.
bills have been paid. Thank you. I'll take the money. You know, it doesn't matter. You can boo me all you want. Seats are filled. You know,
All right. So
so that's why he's selling out all these arenas, bro. He sold out the Orlando. I'm trying to look at it right here. The Caribe Real. So, dude,
they're
I was hold
theaters,
on,
bro.
hold on.
They're not arenas. They're theaters.
No, hold on, though. Look, this is the thing. I listen to TBV, right? So this fucking guy, the Caribe Royale, they had to extend it. They went through construction just to extend this thing from 5,000 to 7,000. Or
That's
no,
7,000, bro. That's
no, I think
nothing.
no, I'm sorry. It was like 9,000 or 10,000. So they extended it, and then he still packed that thing out. He sold it out against Patrick McCory. So like they see the numbers, bro. Like he's selling these things out, and then not only that, but his following, and not only that, but it's the invitations to all these podcasts that he's getting.
You know
You
why I
know,
don't you know why I don't really think that may be the case? Because when you saw the people
it's a different,
who
it's a different,
when you
it's a different land or a field now, bro. It's just
yeah, but when you
the
saw the
concept's so
people's
different now.
faces, the people in Las Vegas, that was like 10 Puerto Ricans, bro.
Oh, I don't know.
Everybody else was
We weren't there.
Mexican.
We weren't
Well,
there.
no, I saw the people in the background. You can tell by the way that they're wearing their hats, the flags, the M and the cap. You know who they are. They're bringing their flags. When did
Sure,
you
but
see the Puerto Rican going with
yeah,
the
but
red, white, and blue?
you're not talking about the people that were watching on television, bro. Like this did good numbers, bro. Like
I know it
Canelo
did.
did a good this did good numbers, bro. Like it did better. Like most of Canelo's fights do great. It's just
Yes,
that's
there you
why
go.
Berlanga like that.
That's
But
the
it's just
commonality.
yeah, but
That's the commonality.
He didn't do this good against John Ryder. John Ryder, he didn't have nothing, bro. And he
But
went
then
to
again,
flashbacks.
remember, he fought John Ryder in Mexico, right?
The television is everywhere, though. I have a television right here. I could, like it's about the buys that it gets, the pay per view buys. and this guy didn't do good against John Ryder. I'm not sure about Jermel. Um, Jaime did good, and Edgar did the best, and then even Caleb Plant, that one did decent.
Yeah.
Bivol did decent. Obviously, we know what happened with Triple G, but
Yeah.
Berlanga did the best, bro. Like he caught up to
Look,
Triple G numbers.
okay, what percentage of all pay-per-view sales were Berlanga fans?
I don't know.
Like what, 15, 20%?
Yeah, but did they pay in a different currency or something or what?
Well, what I'm saying is, you are overrating Berlangas's uh,
I'm not
pedigree.
focusing. I'm not focusing on his fighting ability anymore. I'm telling you why Canelo chose to fight him. He chose to fight him because of the numbers.
Dude, if that was the case, then he would have picked Benavides because he
Oh,
knows he would have sold out like a mother on that one.
but there's more risk. More risk.
But there's way more money. I mean, here's
No,
the
what?
thing:
No, way more
what
money,
higher risk?
dude.
Listen, what
He did
higher
good.
risk is there? Listen, what higher risk is there than taking on a fighter who people have been asking for a very long time, right? That you yourself went up in weight to 175. You fought a way more skillful fighter. And you survived that guy, and then
Look,
you
no
have an
risk.
opportunity to see David Benavides go up to 175 and look
Okay,
mediocre.
so he probably made easy money. He just made easy money with John Ryder, easy money with Jamel, easy money with Jaime, easy money with Edgar. You combine all those things together. I mean, he knew he wasn't gonna lose against any of those guys. You lose once, bro, you're fucking up your bag. He's gonna
Wait,
choose
wait,
to
wait, wait,
fight
wait,
him.
wait, wait. So
You
did you think he thought he was going to lose to Bebo?
Not he miscalculated that one. But this is the thing. I think Benavides is a greater risk. He sees that he's gonna fight like he's gonna choose to fight him in his last fight, and
Look,
it's
I think what happened was
he
instead of
miscalculated.
so, and I believe he miscalculated the eagerness and the understanding abilities of Edgar Berlanga to understand that if he beats Canelo, he becomes the star overnight, right? And he miscalculated in thinking that Berlanga was so inexperienced, therefore so immature, and therefore unprepared to make this a great moment for his own career. So he didn't take him as seriously, right? When he dropped him in the third, he thought that he had it all in the bag and that it was going to be easy pickings. And guess what? The fourth round comes in, the fifth, sixth, seventh. The guy is still in his face and he can't take him out. That's what happened. He miscalculated, and Edgar Berlanga lived up to the moment. He didn't cower or shy from it, and he became as big as the
No, so
moment.
we
And
started. So we stopped throwing the left hook.
cool, Canelo, right? Oh, you
Yeah.
mean yeah. Well, hey, there you go. I guess maybe he may have been bugged by that jab, bro. I mean,
Oh, like
like
I
the
landed.
jab, no, not the jab.
I just landed this hook that just dropped you. I'm scared now.
Do you remember what happened right after that? When he
He
got up
wasn't
and he
hurt.
tried to go for
He
the
was.
kill,
He wasn't hurt
Berlanga
though.
threw he threw a two right at Canelo and stopped him in his tracks too. Like he hurt Canelo a couple of times. In fact,
I know.
by the end of the fight, Canelo's face was more bruised and battered than Berlanga. Only in the post
I know.
fight did the bruises start to show on Berlanga. Yeah, bro, I was looking at the fight. I
No,
stayed
I
the
know.
whole
I'm
time.
saying.
So
I'm just saying. N- like he knew. Like this guy was capable of putting out like his last two fights, and he's gonna be capable of doing that. Like honestly, like his power doesn't age. So his like with Triple G, that was his best. Like he's just collecting checks, bro. Like I think
look, bro,
everything kind of depends on how everything unfolds with
look,
Bivol, with Bivol versus Bitterbeef. He ain't gonna fight Bitterbeef, not anymore. Not since what happened with him and Bivol. He sees that he's like, well, no, I'll probably lose to fucking Bitterbeef too, you know. So he's gonna only fight Bivol only if Bivol wins, and if Bivol loses, he's gonna say, "Fuck it, I'll just fight fucking
Well, that
Benavidez."
is true, actually. That is true because he said it himself. But I
Yeah,
think it's more logical than that, Dream. It's more. It's an easier explanation than what you're making it. This conspiracy, Canelo's putting up a front. He's not throwing punches because he wants to look bad. He
bro.
wants to look bad in soft touch fighters by taking on these easy fights. It doesn't make sense. If you want to take an easy fight, you take an easy fight to look dominant. Now you take an easy fight to look bad, right? So I think what it is this, and I think El Pachuco and I we had uh, uh, an exchange in one of the videos that the Screaming Madman made. Yeah, actually, he did. He said it's impressive that Canelo, little Canelo, is able to fight these huge guys that are bigger, and I think that's what it is. I think in the case of Canelo, he has maxed out his weight dominance so that he can no longer promises knockouts because these guys are used to taking punches by naturally bigger men than him. Not guys like Canelo that started at 147 and climbed up the ranks because of skill set. No, it's because they're just used to taking bigger punches. The same thing that will happen to Terrence Bud Crawford once he decides to go up in weight and test himself harder, like we just saw with Madrimov. His power's not going to carry over. They are not going to be shy about taking your punches because they know that they could. What's going to happen is his power will no longer translate to knockout power.
Not
And
it.
their weight, blowing up is gonna allow them to absorb it. He will not knock out Bivol. He will not knock out Beterbiev. He will not knock out David Benavidez.
Yeah,
He ain't gonna do any of that going forward. Not because Canelo is not skilled, not because Canelo is trying to look bad,
yeah.
but because he
So hold
can
on,
no
hold on.
longer do it.
I said that, and I realized you kept saying no, no, and I was like yes, and then I realized you made me feel like it was a fact when it was just an opinion, and I got
Mhm.
so lost into telling you what how I felt. And you're like you're disagreeing with me so much. I was like I said it made me feel like I was arguing a fact, but in reality, I said in the beginning, I said is I know it's gonna sound crazy,
Yeah,
so
it was a little
this,
crazy.
this is why I hate boxing. This is why I hate boxing fans. Just the how it is because you make me feel like it's not a fact when I know it's not a fact. It's just how I feel,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, no, I get it. I get it. It happens to all of us, man. I mean, like
You
for
get so
example,
caught up
I'm
in that though.
speculating.
You
Yeah,
get so
I'm
caught up in
speculating.
that, and then you're like, no, 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 and I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
But
So Dream, let me ask you something, man. Berlenga,
huh?
what is your forecast for his career? What does look? Let's be realistic, right? Okay, let's be realistic. All that happened is Canelo didn't knock him out, and Berlanga surprised us because he never had a step up, and all of a sudden he gets an incredible legendary fighter and he looks capable. Not only does he
Yeah,
survive, he proves to have more dog and more willingness to fight than an undisputed fighter at 154, Jermel Charlo. He stands there and takes more punches, he endures more than BJ Saunders and Caleb Plant and John Ryder. He goes in there, he actually looks better
yeah.
than Munguia, more defensively responsible than Munguia and
What part?
less respectful. Now, let me ask you something. With that being said, even though that is the fact about Edward Berlenga, in my opinion, the fact of the matter is that Canelo still won 8 rounds, maybe 9 rounds out of all 12. But
Yeah.
still, what does this do for Berlenga? Where do you see
Well,
him?
most a star is born. You know, I think
Yeah.
like just without me feeling any type of way, just going off of what I've seen, um, like I think Berlanga should be fighting the top guys, you know, and giving good fights. Um, I would like to be petty and say all he has to do is just go the distance and he will become the next Puerto Rican fucking star. But like Just go the distance every fight. You'll become the legend, the distance legend, you know. So that's just me being a hater, but he's capable of beating. He's capable of surprising me. He's capable of pulling off a Teofimo and surprising everyone. You know, uh, he's capable of being that roller coaster. You know, so um, I just feel like he could shock us, bro. Like after seeing that, because this is what holds value to me, right? I think the fact that um, I think the fact that Caleb Plant got knocked out and this guy didn't, and this guy talking big shit is just made for the big shit to Caleb. Um, I think that's a fight that I want to see, and I'm like, okay, I wouldn't. I'm staying away as far as a betting man because I know what Berlanga is coming with now. He can show me a different level of his game, but kind of like what happened with Jaime, bro. Like we were expecting him to step it up. You know, I mean, not step it up because he won. He got the job done. He did what we expected him to do, but we wanted him to do the unexpected and actually do what fighters do when they fight legends, you know, improve. You know, we want to see a different level now. We want to see you go up in your game. You know, it looked like the same guy in there. It looked like he was fighting himself. Fucking Eric Bazinian looked the same. You know, he was doing the exact same thing as Jaime. They look like the same style of fighter, you know. So yeah, like I want to see that. Um, but the thing is, I just going with my gut, going with the science of boxing, Caleb's just gonna fuck him up. But that's why it doesn't correlate in my head. I'm like, you knock out Caleb, but you don't knock out Edgar. So and I
Yeah,
think Caleb, you know,
yeah,
and I
that's true.
think, you know, and I'm like, and Caleb's like in my head, I'm picturing how the fight would happen. I'm like, Edgar would lose every round, you know.
Whoa!
Edgar would lose every round, but he
Wow.
wouldn't get knocked out. He don't got the power to knock him out. Edgar does though, you know. So this just doesn't correlate in my head, right? I'm like, how the fuck somebody's lying?
And
Somebody
here's
is
the
lying.
other. Here's
Somebody's lying.
that's
Their
hilarious.
performance.
Somebody's lying.
Somebody's lying about their performance. Somebody's fucking playing a fake character in the ring, you know. So it just doesn't match. But
See,
anyways,
that's
I'm gonna take it
incredible,
what I
man.
see. You know, I'm gonna take it as what I see though, and I'm gonna say Berlanga is a star in the making. Um, and he needs to take full advantage of it. You know, the fight that I want,
Mhm.
Jaime. Give me Jaime. I don't know who wins. I don't know who
Wow.
wins.
Well, I mean, look, when I considered the fight, I told homie Rick, I think the last live that we ever went on before we had this 1 month hiatus, I did say one thing. And maybe it was like 3 weeks ago actually, and homie Ricky's last show. Uh, I said if you look at the career fights, the last recent fights that AJ has had, he's had soft touches with Francis Ngannou and I think Robert Helenius, and he beat him in like 1 round, right? And then when you look at the Daniel Dubois fights, who he fought, an undefeated Jarrell Baby Miller, and also I think who's the other guy that he beat?
Who?
Uh,
The what?
Dubois, yeah, he beat
Herb.
Hergovic. Okay, another undefeated fighter, right? But he beats those two guys up in the way that he beat him, going rounds with both of them. He endured all that. He had the ring experience. He had the rounds in. He won dominantly. And then you had AJ that maybe fought a combined 4 rounds, 5 rounds in the last two fights. One guy's having the easier touches. One guy is having the harder touches. One guy is enduring more. The other one doesn't have to endure much, right? It was a perfect moment for Daniel Dubois to take all of his confidence from those last fights and couple those easy victories for AJ, because there was no value for those fights for AJ. He doesn't win anything by fighting Francis Ngannou, right? So I said Daniel Dubois looks primed for this win. Now, if we take that same mathematics, which of course A plus B does not equal C in boxing, if we take that though and we apply it to, let's say, Jaime Mugias' last outing versus Edward Berlanga's last outing, if they go immediately, we have to consider that Edward Berlanga looked better. I think, in my opinion, right? Because both of them got dropped, I believe. He looked better than Jaime Mugia against the same fighter. And the other thing is, one guy has one of the best fighters in this last fight, and the other guy fought a guy named Eric Bazinian, and he didn't look too good, right? I would say that that looks like a very equal fight in favor of Berlanga. And here's the thing: and Pachuco, always the wise man, always the sage, he says this. Also, a lot of people don't appreciate how tough the Munguia fight was on Canelo. In other words,
It
Canelo
was,
was coming up of a grueling battle with his previous opponent, so he
dude.
just had two tough fights. Canelo had Munguia, Canelo had Berlanga, two tough fights. So in that, when he says it like that, he's actually giving credit and respect to both Canelo, Saul, Santos,
And
Alvarez, Barragan, and also to Munguia. Because, man, Munguia, he fought a guy that had 32 and no record, and Eric Basinian, who's obviously one of those Eastern European fighters, very much like a
uh,
b-ball, very skillful, with
no, he's
enough respect. Mhm.
Canadian.
Yeah, but are you sure he's
Brazilian,
not from over there, like sort of like any of
oh,
those other fighters that just moves to France? I mean, to Canada.
Armenia. Is
Yeah,
that
he's
you're saying?
Armenian.
Okay,
Well, yeah, well, I don't know my continents, man.
I
I don't
don't
know.
either.
But what I mean
But
is he's an undefeated fighter. Saul Alvarez Barragan fought a bigger undefeated fighter in Berlanga after a grueling war. Munguia fought one of the best fighters in the world, and he came off of a loss fighting an undefeated fighter that had
well,
respectable power.
that
Both
dude
of those
Bazinian,
realities are true.
but
Mhm.
at the same time, Bazinian was buzzed in his last fight. It was a draw. He should have lost that fight. Matter of fact, against a
Mhm.
guy who had three losses, and then
Mhm.
Jaime Munguia puts him away. And yeah, honestly, when I was watching the fight, I was like, "Damn, Jaime's gonna go the distance with this guy. It's not gonna look as good as the knockout, obviously, but it's like
Mhm.
it's one of those things where like there's a lot of things like you can see the end result, but it's like so much that goes on with these fights during the fight. And Bazinian showed some holes in his game, and I feel like Jaime Mugia should have put him away a little earlier. Um, but I definitely think Jaime Munguia was a tougher fight for fucking Canelo, bro. Canelo's just gonna take what you give him, bro. Like he'll respond off of that. He could easily take control of the fight, bro. And that's what makes me think that like some fishy shit's happening. But with Jaime,
You're a
with Jaime,
cynic.
I know, but Jaime with Jaime, bro, like he made him work. He made
Yeah.
him up his jab. He made him like work overtime with certain things, bro. Like it's just Jaime came with more volume, bro. And like it's just Edgar had a slighter, like a slightly tighter defense, but he wasn't moving his
Mhm.
head like Jaime, you know. And he just wasn't moving like him. Like this whole body movement was way more than Edgar. Edgar was more stationary, but he was doing good, obviously. But they, that like there's a you see it like they both had their best performances against Canelo. Like they both looked like the best they've ever been inside a ring, is because they're trying to show out for a Canelo. And it's just yeah, like I think Jaime was just uh and it just I feel like I am a little biased because I'm a Mexican, but nah, dude, I gotta I give credit when it's due, and
Mhm.
I just feel like Edgar um surprised me slightly, but it's just there's a hole in my soul right now. Something doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, no, I get you. I think, yeah, again, I go back to what Pachuco says. Canelo was coming off of a grueling war with Mugia,
Yeah.
who was an undefeated fighter. And he just had a grueling war. Well, maybe less grueling, but very highly boxistic fight against another young undefeated fighter, and Edward Berlanga, who the only difference is this: Edward Berlanga can afford to not necessarily move his head so much and to look for opportunities to keep his eyes wide open to counter Canelo because he could take those punches, because he can blow up much more than Munguia has. Because Munguia, if I'm not mistaken, even once fought as low as 147
So
or
they're
154. I
coming
mean,
back too.
154. Huh?
Oh, sorry. My bad. I thought you were talking about Jaime Munguia still.
No, Jaime Munguia did fight as low as 154, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe even
Yeah, he did.
147 for a
He
while.
did.
So he's a smaller fighter. So yeah, my hats go off to Munguia for being able to go up in weight, look so capable against a fighter in the echelon of Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan. Also to Edward Berlanga, who had less fights than both Jaime Munguia and Canelo combined, with less professional championship experience. In fact, none. And he still looked that capable. But I do attribute a lot of that to him being able to weather the storm just because he is fighting a fighter that once started as low as 4 to 5 weight divisions from where he started as a pro. Now,
Oh,
you mentioned one last thing. What you were going
yeah.
to say?
Jaime Munguia is fighting again this year. This will be his
Yeah.
fourth fight this year. That needs to be acknowledged.
That's
Uh,
incredible. Well, he's
what is
gonna
it?
hype, right? Like, I mean, this is the problem with the PBC fighters. They get one big opportunity, make some money, and then they rest them. And
Nah, dude.
these guys, you're fighting
Yeah,
Canelo. This is where you're supposed to put yourself out there
he's
more.
trying to be the next Julio Cesar Chavez in a sense. He's trying to go that route. He's trying to be the active king. You
Yeah,
know, and I like it. Fuck yeah,
yeah,
give us
I
four
do too.
fight five fights. Imagine
Yep,
he
yep,
fights 5-6 times next year.
yep.
Man, that's like
And
a good way to cement your legacy right there. You know,
yeah, and now
so
see, now you're even now you're bringing a little evidence to the fact that we may be going through a renaissance of boxing. These fighters are becoming more prolific. These fighters are fighting much more often during the year, which is one of the things that we were able to see back in the day. You do not have to fight all the killers all the time. You just have to fight more often, get the world's attention,
mhm.
have people see you fight, whether it's
Ronald Good.
yeah, because even if you look at the careers of Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Mike Tyson, man, if when they fought 3 or 4 times a year, they weren't fighting all killers. They weren't
Yeah.
even that many killers over there. And name me 3 killers that Mike Tyson fought
Mm.
in the
Yeah, he's gonna
same
fight
year.
Ronald. He's gonna fight Ronald Graville. But yeah, dude.
Yeah, that's a good name. Now, one last thing right before
Yeah,
we end this, because you did mention it. Caleb
anti-Canelo.
Plant.
Go ahead.
Caleb Plant is a common. It has that commonality between Munguia and Berlenga. He could not survive Canelo. He could not survive David Benavides. But this past weekend, no, no, not this past weekend. On the
Yeah,
Canelo
that was a
undercard,
week
he had
ago.
an opportunity to fight an undefeated fighter by the name of Trevor McCumbee, a fighter that was born in Chicago, Illinois. He's been living for the longest of times and even turned pro as a 17-year-old fighter legally in the U.S. The sanctioning bodies in the government of the United States of America, they gave an exception to Trevor McCumbee to turn pro at 17 years of age. This fighter was once supposed to be a big name. Then life happened. He was involved in an accident. He became a store clerk for 7-Eleven, if I'm not mistaken, because he was injured. For about 5 years, he was out of the sport. He came back. If I'm not mistaken, he was caught with some kind of peds. Now, that may have been some type of testosterone or steroids to aid in his recovery as an injured fighter coming off of an accident. I'm not too sure. Whatever it is, I'm sure that he never had a big, crazy fight that would have actually, drawn the kind of attention that ped users would have gotten anyways. But nonetheless, Trevor McCumbee, he looked very capable for a little while against Caleb Plant. And then all of a sudden, Caleb Plant, the fighter that's been stopped by Canelo, and he went through hell and back, but I think he lasted all 12 rounds against David Benavides. He does something that we have not seen, at least myself, that I've not seen from Caleb Plant before. Even though Caleb Plant was a standout Olympian and amateur, he's been known as a six-round fighter for the gamut of his professional career because he tends to slow down in the championship fights. In fact, a lot of his fights don't last the championship fights because he's been so dominant. Now, Caleb Plant walks forward his opponent. He dukes him up. He shows up and comes forward in this, I wouldn't say a peekaboo defense, but definitely a come forward, maybe like Subriel Matias type, where he just like walks with his hands up, just goes up to his opponent, pushes him to the corners, and he starts posting and framing and varying the speed and power of his punches so that he can open up Trevor McCumbee. He starts fighting like a come forward Mexican, and lo and behold, the seventh, eighth round, he goes for a couple of volleys. He starts blazing his opponent. His head starts shaking left and right, left and right. They stop the fight. Right at the last second, Trevor McCumbee succumbs to that action. He falls on his knees. The fight is waved off. Caleb Plant is a come forward aggressor. This guy has just added and switched up his fight style right after having been beat down by David Benavides, after having been knocked out by one of the greatest Mexican fighters of all time, Saul Santos Alvarez Barragan. This guy, Dream, is a different fighter. Is this the guy you think Jaime Munguia or Edward Berlanga can survive? This destructive, come forward type of fighter like Plant has become. Do you think they could take that guy? I think he's this guy's the goods right now.
Yeah, no, I think he's good, man. What the stationary fighter, bro? Like he's gonna knock him out, bro. I think he would knock out dudes like uh I was gonna say Berlanga, man. I honestly I can see him knocking out Berlanga, and I could see Berlanga knocking him out too. But uh, he likes to exchange, and he's a 175 pounder, So if he moves down again, he's gonna carry that power again down. So, dude, when I seen him exchange,
It's in Plant 168.
yeah, he's a 168 pounder, but McCumbee. Oh, I was talking
Oh,
about
yeah, yeah,
McCumbie.
yeah,
My
yeah.
bad.
He came down. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, if you fight McCumbee, he's gonna have trouble with that power. So Berlanga would have to show that quote unquote great IQ, crazy IQ, um, against McCumbee. But he's not Caleb. Why would he switch it up to Caleb style? So when he said that, that's why I'm like, you're not Caleb, bro. Say that you set your shots up well or something. Like say you're not crazy IQ though. Like I don't know, but yeah, McCumbee, good fight for McCumbee or Plant. It just wouldn't make sense coming off a loss. Well, they're both coming off losses, but I just see Berlanga. Berlanga's more on feels like Berlanga just won, right? So even though it's a loss, maybe him, Caleb Plant is better,
Mhm.
But
That's the
I gotta take a
funny
shower, bro.
thing. That's the funny thing you said.
I gotta take a shower.
Okay, Caleb Plant can knock out Edward Berlanga, but yeah, Canelo couldn't. Yeah, this is the sport of boxing, guys. This sport right here, where the unfathomable is fathomable, where the underdog could be a king for a day. Wow, this really is, in my opinion, a modern golden era of boxing. And all we have to do in order to appreciate it and to see it unfold is for us to slow down, just soak it all in. And if we don't go in there as cynics, thinking that these guys are soft touches or that they don't deserve a shot or that these fighters are taking the easy route towards greatness, if we just appreciate the fighters for who they are and we give them a chance and we just allow ourselves to believe that anything can happen, you will see that everything is happening in this sport. This year so far has been an incredible one. Daniel Dubois is the man of the day. Ricardo Fernandez is the man of the hour. AJ and Canelo have just helped propel and elevate the careers of fighters that many people never accredited in the first place. AJ and his defeat, and Canelo and his victory. We are seeing some incredible things play out before us, ladies and gentlemen. I would hope that you're not missing it just because Canelo did not fight David Benavides. I would hope not.
Guy, that guy.
What are you doing?
Uh, I was gonna take a shower, but somebody else is using the shower. Somebody else is using the shower, so I gotta wait for them to stop so I can use the shower. You know how the hot water thing goes.
No, I have a big water heater, so my thing actually holds up. My son, the boxing guy, that guy takes 3 showers every day. He
Damn.
goes to school, he comes back, takes a shower, goes to the gym, takes a shower, and then for whatever reason or another, right before he goes to sleep, he takes a shower. Um, yeah. So no, we have a big water heater, so it holds up. And in fact, I'm the type of person that takes 5 minute showers, right? So there's always gonna be water, man. I don't know what kind of a water heater you got. You probably have like a very small one from I don't know, Home Depot or something. Sometimes you just have to go
Yeah.
and invest a little more, man. You
Well, I
should
don't know.
go to Lowe's. Get your stuff from Lowe's instead of Big Five, and do what you do. If you're gonna get a mouthpiece, ladies and gentlemen, like the screaming madman just displayed in one of his short videos, Joey DeWaco got
The
his
Banco.
mouthpiece. That guy right there. He got his mouthpiece spat out on or knocked out of his mouth by Richard Torres Jr. 5 different times. He got 2 points taken off as a result of that. Why? Because he decided not to invest the good money in a professional custom made mouthpiece and he went to Big Five Sporting Goods instead of getting the ones from Dick's. If you're going to put something in your mouth, get it from Dick's.
Oh shit. Well, yeah, nah. Okay, it looks like I can use a shower, man. I'll let you go then. I'm gonna take a shower now.
All right.
All
All
right,
right.
man.
Well, go do that, man. Have a wonderful night.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so there's going to be some good fights coming up. I believe this is the weekend for Beterbiev and Bivol. I think there was a fight last night on Country Box 24/7, the regional promotion where they mix country music with organized pugilism in a little saloon environment. It's very intimate, very smoky little place, but it's so beautiful and so unique. And man, I've never been disappointed with those events. They're free, by the way. All you have to do is go to visit countrybox247.com, subscribe to the stuff. They'll send you whatever, fight nights, good stuff. So if you're still not done with watching boxing, well, there's more to come, and there's some just one day away. Whether tomorrow or yesterday, you can get your fix for boxing. I hope you've been doing well of health and sane of mind. I sure had one heck of a month, but I've survived it, and I'm so happy that I come back and get reunited with my friends, El Pachuco, Mr. Vince Vargas, Addy Medi, and everybody out there that listen to us in this here live. Know this. I appreciate you. And I want you to learn to appreciate the fighters, and then you will fall in love with the sport again. Ladies and gentlemen, I bid you adieu for Dream 123, the homie Ricky, and me, your interlocutor and broadcaster, Warp Speed. I do bid you do well. Engage.